What's up, you captains of industry? Jack Moves here, coming to you with installment 4 of Jack Chats, which, as you'll recall, just involves me having a chat with some interesting people in my life. If you've been listening, what do you think of the show? Seriously, people often like, but I'd love to get a comment. Let me know. Would you like to see more episodes in the future? Also, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Today I speak to Kirsten White of the bands Lilim and Pretty Boy. She's one of the most passionate and driven people I know. I heard her interview on our friend Jesse's Trans Canada podcast and was really impressed by just how insightful she is. And as I mentioned in the chat she is my respect as one of the few people I know who actually follows through with what they say they're going to do. Like starting a feminist metal band with themselves as lead singer without having any prior experience. And she was a natural. She seemed like the perfect person to ask to define feminism for me. And anyway, check it out. So, you've done...
I could not relate to this.
You've done, what, putting no effort?
Yeah, but continue.
Come on, have a couple things you just, aren't even good at. So you did Jesse's podcast, which I listened to, and, his podcast is that's fucking CBC shit.
Yeah, it's magic shit.
It's super, yeah, he spent time.
Yeah, it's got sound design.
Yeah, I just don't think I don't have aspirations for that.
That's fair.
So as a result, I don't even really, I haven't introduced any guests.
Oh, okay.
Because one little bit of extracurricular I will do is record an intro.
Oh, okay.
At which point I'll bring up the, whatever you're working on,
all
or
the
whatever,
stuff?
yeah, stuff that you do. Mm-hmm. So.
Do you want me to just start then?
Oh, well, we already are.
Oh, great.
It's on. This is, I don't know, what do you think? I kind of wanted to do something for a podcast just as an additional kind of side to me on a selfish level.
Oh, okay.
Just as far as presenting myself as a an artist, I always felt I don't know, I had something to say. Mm-hmm. And then put that in conjunction with people who I think would just make for a good conversation. Record that.
Yep.
And then you put it out. I mean, I don't think that many people are going to listen to it, but do you think I'm not missing any heavily checked boxes in
podcast world?
Yeah. It seems that's what some people who really like podcasts, mm-hmm. if they like the kind of conversational ones, it's just they're cool with the flow of conversation.
Well, they're listening to it because they're topic specific normally. Yeah. So if you give a flying fuck about, I guess, any of the things that you do or any things that I do or any combination of those things, then yeah, this would be of interest to you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
you just gotta get all your hashtagging game on.
How many hashtags do you think?
I think it's 4. I like odd numbers. Even numbers make me very uncomfortable. I'm really bummed about 2018 just because of that.
It's just a little too orderly, is it?
Yeah. So
you
could do 13 or something.
13? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I stopped shy of that, even when I'm in my most ambitious hashtagging. I run out of them.
Yeah.
I run out of until I start doing the jokesy ones that are just for the odd person that's reading that far down your caption. As for discovery hashtags, I don't know. I run out.
I don't even think I would know what a true discovery hashtag is. I think you have to be on the edge of marketing and influencing to truly know, and I don't care about either of those things.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I swear to God, it's come up in some way in every conversation so far, and
marketing?
It's probably because of me. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you like doing it.
Well, I don't like doing it. It's just
really
you have to do it.
I guess so. I don't know. What's the end goal?
Well, talk to the bajillion marketers that are out there, and that's their whole job.
It's to sell stuff. No, I know, but for you, why do you want to market so much?
I mean, I would use the word promote more than market because there just isn't that much stuff to buy.
Yeah, but
for me,
to be a truly compelling product, you have to. It's funny. We just had a meeting about this at work today. You have to know the why, right? So like,
is that on the PowerPoint printout?
It fucking absolutely is.
Number one, know the why.
Know the why, the how.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and the then or the when. Anyway, it was really early. I hadn't caffeinated during this meeting yet, but it was.
Shit!
It had a really good point, and
good thing you got those slides.
Yeah,
it's like the slides will be up.
It was sent
on the network.
It was sent in an email afterwards. I have it on the Google Drive.
Oh, the Google is that kind of the currency now?
That's what we do.
Not Dropbox. You guys are Google Drive.
No, Drive all the way.
Okay.
It's very easy. We actually just I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about. Oh no, it's less of them. We just pitched for no offense. We just pitched for Google, so it was it was also just sort of amazing to use all the Google products to then pitch to Google. It was interesting.
You mean using them so that you're aware of what they do?
No, like literally delivering the presentation to Google through Google technology.
That would be a pretty good idea.
Imagine handing in a PowerPoint to Google. Like, I don't think they'd be fucking stoked on that. That's bad marketing or bad selling.
Call them up on like Microsoft phone. Yeah. Does Microsoft have like a
Can we
Google
Skype
call? Yeah.
I don't want to Google.
It's like, oh, you guys do that? I didn't know you guys were in that business. Oh, really? Like, yeah, that would.
You make phones?
No, that would not be a good sign to them to have you guys.
Sell
not appear informed on the product. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what was the quote again?
You like to do this. You like to promote yourself.
Well,
there's a bit of. I think it's like part of your hustle need.
Okay, so you think that I would do it regardless if I needed to or not.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't think like your end goal is to be famous. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I don't really. I mean, I could beat you to the punch and say I don't know what the end goal is, but
totally. Well, I mean, no one knows, man. Happy.
Well, I'm saying I couldn't
happy
even.
420, but
yeah, we're there.
Yeah.
That's funny. I just forgot that it was 420. Yep. It shows how much I don't care about those things because I have my fucking life in order.
No, I have a lot of pothead friends, so I knew what today was.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Why you took those like 2 hits out of a pipe.
Yeah, man. It's a good way to start your Friday night. But no, I think you would be doing this stuff anyways. I think it's like become like you're pretty not militant, but like organized about it. So, things come out at a certain time, you do the 3-step promotion process that like everybody who's like, everyone who's like, who'd be seasoned enough to know like not to inundate their friends 14 times a day with 100 notifications about their fucking show on Friday at the Bovine. Like you just, like, you don't need to do, anyways, there's a nice like, relaxed tracking to how you promote, so.
Good. I mean, that's really helpful to hear that. I think, one of the benefits of having conversations like this is, for me to just hear outside opinions about stuff that I've done or the way I act, because you have a significant other, so you got a bit of a feedback loop you can get.
Well, I also go to therapy, and I have lots of very close friends, and so, yeah, there's a lot of people to talk to.
Right.
And reflect.
Okay. So you find that you have the opportunity to sort of get word back from other people?
For sure. I feel like I just spent 10 years developing this network, and, like, Mark's the nice, like, icing on the cake, but, like, Kat and Irene and Neve and Meg and Laura and even my bandmates, and they're all like part of that network.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'm still annoying or bitchy or rude when I don't realize it sometimes, but you can't catch everything, and some things are just part of you.
Yeah, well, no, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, I don't know. It's kind of when people say they're trying to be a better person and stuff. It's, or I don't know. You're not en route to be the best person. I don't know, just shit like that. I guess that and a lot of other things words tend to ring very hollow for me these days, so it's just kind of like, yeah, we can say that if we want. That's fine. I mean, I think I would look at it to have a support group. It's helpful. It's just helpful for you in terms of, I don't know, the sounding board and shit. When I did therapy before, mm-hmm. I had a therapist who was like said like 3 words the whole time.
That would drive me nuts.
It's amazing how quickly you can fill that space.
That's true. Yeah.
And ultimately, I think it served its purpose. I mean, it did occur to me that I was like, man, can anybody do this? Because all she's doing is listening.
That's funny you say that, because I just got into school for it.
You remember you mentioning that. So your hope is to become a
psychotherapist?
A psychotherapist?
No, not necessarily. I think, again, and I think maybe this is a bit counter to your comment about some of this stuff feeling a little empty, but for me, and like kind of what I said even during my interviews, it's like, this is the most expensive therapy I could buy, and this is the most work I could do on myself in a controlled environment. Mm-hmm. And so I think I'm just gonna learn a lot about that, and if I decide at the end, which I might in 6 to 8 years when I'm done, that I want to do it, then maybe I will. But like, production is what I do now for a living, is like kind of #blessed. Like, I get to do lots of cool shit all the time. My job is never the same twice. I like the people I work with.
Yeah.
So like, I feel it's not necessarily a rush out of one career into another, as much as it's just adding. And like, my boss is pretty rad about it. He's like taking flying school right now, so I kind of tried to position it to him as the same thing. Right. I was like, see, you're doing school too. Still give me money.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But, yeah, I guess the end goal, it's not something like murdery or anything. I don't really care to like fix anyone or, help you find your inner you or whatever. That's not the point.
Okay. So the point is that instead
to work on myself.
Right. So instead of being a career-based decision. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's okay. So it's entirely, as you say, to work on yourself. So do you see it as that you're like learning all of the bits and pieces that make up you want to be like, oh, that's just my hippocampus. Like,
no, I think more like, oh, this lived experience, or this reaction can be because of this lived experience. I had a really amazing conversation with one of the people that might be one of my profs, and I asked him kind of like why he kept doing what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And he's been in it for 30 years, and he was like, well, like, you'll learn something 20 years previously, so let's say when you're in school, and it doesn't necessarily like apply to you or ring true to you or give you a light bulb moment in any way. Like, you learn it, but it's not necessarily affecting you. And like, most of what I'm gonna learn is like, yes, like science, mental health, psychology based, but it's also like, kind of philosophy based in certain senses too, right? And understanding people's philosophy, and again, like the why, I think will come from school. So he said, stuff he learned 20 years ago, he'll finally meet somebody now, 20 years later, and they explain to him this thing that he learned, or that light bulb moment then does happen for that piece of information. So his like philosophy on life and his view on how people operate and we operate within society constantly has the opportunity to change. So you're not like, my biggest fear is to become incredibly black and white, because I am really black and white now, and I don't feel like that's a positive. I feel like having flex through understanding is like the only way that I'm gonna feel less angry at the world every day.
Mm-hmm. So, but
selfish as fuck.
To have, well, I mean, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's comforting to know you're not like trying to be 100% selfless. That's
no. I think those people are full of shit.
I listen to a lot of CBC radio, and I was talking with Ted yesterday. It's like, see, every program always has like one story about like some person doing something to help people, and I'm just always like, that's really heartwarming. Fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
it's low hanging fruit, like make you feel good masturbation. It's not anything like intelligent. No offense to the CBC.
I'm sure some of the stories.
Well, I'm sure, yeah. I'm not saying smart people don't participate in being helpful. I'm just saying that you're marketing these feel-good stories, which I guess is probably better than fear tactics-based news delivery like the U.S., but I just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I still don't want to be pandered to either.
No, I understand. But, I mean, as far as just the way we function, like, you would not be able to help others without your own stuff being in order first.
That's a good way to look at it, too.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
There, see?
Hey, cool.
See those podcasts more often. Oh, is it your laundry? Should I pause the thing?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you mind?
I don't mind.
Okay.
Perfect. That's a huge hamper.
It was only half full.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
That's
like gotta get all his underwears clean. You only have so many underwears.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm always low.
And I'm just not a big fan of the flipper inside out underwear move.
Oh.
That's just too dirty for me.
I appreciate you being honest about that.
Yeah,
not too many other people will
admit that they
talk to me about that.
No problem.
Yeah, it's but I feel like it's not that bad for you if you did want to do it.
I don't know. I feel like it's gonna get graphic. So, like, women excrete, obviously, right?
I appreciate you leading into that. Women excrete.
We do. And, like, it could be, like, kind of globular. It could be white. It could be a bunch of things. But that shit soaks through your underwear, okay?
Right.
So, then even if you flip it to the other side, you're literally being exposed to something.
It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's, like, good for your pH to sit in your own, like... It's not good to wash your shit all the time, but it's also not good to sit in your own filth.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So...
You're right.
For me, for vaginal health...
No flips.
No flips.
I don't flip.
I don't flip. Don't flip, bro.
I like that. That's a good PSA right there.
Yeah.
Don't flip.
Don't flip.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll reconsider.
I don't think it affects you since the whole outside thing.
Usually, my morning gym routine lately has been shirt from yesterday. Mm-hmm. Because I think, like, yesterday's shirt, I actually sort of, like, slowly have come to think that I always do have a different shirt every day, but I don't think I need to. I think I overemphasize the importance of wearing a different fucking t-shirt every day. As long as I'm properly deodorized, the shit smells the same one day from the next.
I hear you, but like fashion, you know?
But, like, if the same people don't see you tomorrow that saw you yesterday.
It's about dressing as an art, you know? Like, I hate putting on clothes because I find it very frustrating, but I really like being well-dressed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I think, like, I don't know. I have no rules against the level of dirtiness of the clothing. For example, perhaps it's, like, what you're going for with your look. But I to each person for that choice. This is one of those things where you're like, is this something I need to talk about? Probably. I need to talk about this.
I feel like, we're framing the conversation here. It's all about we're going to figure out those other things that, like, see, because you did the other two podcasts.
Yeah.
And, like,
everyone asks me about music.
Well, everyone, I mean, and I'm sure it'll go there. It's like 98% of what I ever know about. Mm-hmm. But, no, we'll because the other two podcasts were like, you were like describing like the meaning of your lyrics and, what else? And like, you know, like your motivations and kind of like the more the more high-minded,
music
stuff. Well,
yeah.
Well, just like not even the music thing.
No,
like I get that, but I'm just saying like you're.
I don't know much about music, so they don't ask me about that.
Okay,
stuff.
well, I mean I grew up. It's important. That's why I'm adjusting myself.
When I grew up,
I probably do this every time I'm about to tell a story. I like straighten up. I'm like, strap yourself in.
Yeah. Here it comes. Even Jimmy's getting comfortable.
Yeah, buddy. Stay awake. I already forgot what I was gonna say.
Smoke mad weed.
Yeah.
And the other two, we started with talking about the other two podcasts, and then talking about
okay,
music.
So
and
like
I don't know shit about music.
With music, like okay, so maybe you don't like as far as like I don't know, you didn't take a jazz history course like I did.
No.
But and you don't really play guitar or any...
I play the French horn and the saxophone.
Still?
Like not in the last 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you still put yourself in the realm of proficiency?
I went to the Royal Conservatory College as a kid.
Okay.
For music. And did like plays and symphonies and shit.
Okay.
But because of my learning disabilities, I couldn't really figure out how to read music. So it was always by ear. So I don't feel like I really learned anything about music because I have no concept of how to write it. I can play it, I can copy it, I can mimic it really well, but like to write it, I don't know.
Well, I wouldn't emphasize the importance of reading music. Don't think of that as like...
Yeah, but if you can read it,
it's not the equivalent.
Can you write it? Or is that a dumb thing I just said?
No, that makes total sense. That is what you do.
Yeah.
Or you can do.
Yeah.
But it's not like reading books or something where it's like, fuck, if only I wasn't dumb enough that I couldn't learn how to read.
Right.
Reading and music, I don't know. As someone who is, and I can read, but I'm not like, that's not how the information is. That's not how I usually try to get my info from. I'm not like, here's some sick new track, and I'm like, man, let's search up, see if we can find the sheet music for this so I can learn how to play it. You're learning by ear, and I think that's learning by ear is more valuable in my opinion than reading music is. Learning about music by reading it, because I don't know, when you hear it, you know it. Whether you can read, a person who can read music and who can't read music, it's the same. So
it's if you're tone deaf is when you're really
well,
fucked.
If you're tone deaf, then yeah. I wonder if there are any stories.
I
wonder if there are any stories of like successful tone deaf first chair violinists in a symphony, where it's like, I just do what it says to do. I can analyze this.
Yeah, I imagine that would be a way that somebody like that could learn.
Yeah.
Or that's how they would be able to harmonize. Or
but how strange it would be that it was completely mechanical and it was not at all based on...
I always felt like playing that kind of music, I don't know, symphony-based music was pretty mechanical anyways. I don't know.
It's interesting because they do talk about something like improvisation and this conductor is better than this conductor, or treats the song different, and I'm like, so what? And one of the only really like obvious things that I can find to explain the difference is like, this guy had them play it faster and this guy played it slower. It's like, I don't think that's you're not squeezing forth some different kind of emotion just from some shit like that, or like, the fermata on the note, the thing that tells you like hold the note for an indeterminate period of time. He held it for so much longer, and you could just feel that tension.
But wouldn't that be like when you're trying to describe that undescribable thing about people? Isn't that exactly that? Like that, it's the sparkle of art. It's like what makes somebody have a signature style or a signature like painting reality, like that's I don't know. I think that for music, even that part can be quite artistic, even though you're just like leading a very set piece of music, I guess.
I agree, but you just did like a 180-degree turn and you came to the defense of like, conductors.
Because I feel like I can look at them as separate pieces. I understand they live together as a whole, but I can see why people see brilliance in somebody who's essentially just they're not even playing this other person's music. They're leading other people playing other people's music.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Most of the time,
sounds like a lame cover band. What's the value? I mean, that'd
not
be
like anything like anyone who would like play Manowar. Those guys wouldn't be weird.
Haven't done that since last year.
You're all growing as humans.
That's it, right? Yeah. Moving towards my better self, a Manowar free self. Why did we start talking about the?
Learning about music, because I was saying I don't know shit about music, and then you were going to tell a story, but we fell down fell down another conversational hole.
So the a difference then, because maybe you're not as focused on the actual like musical note making part of this whole thing, you are more focused. And I think originally what I was going to say is growing up, I was like, lyrics were like, I was like the most forgiving guy when it came to like lyrics for songs, because I listened to like metal, which had like so much dumb shit in it, like so many like stupid lyrics. But I sure as hell didn't listen for the fucking lyrics. Whereas it's funny, you ask someone from like my parents' generation, back when we had like, you know, a million Bob Dylans. So like that was like all they listened to. It's like dude's playing like a fucking G chord the whole time. There's not that much going on musically, so you're like listening to it's like whatever symbols he's putting forth. So anyway, you're far more knowledgeable, and just even from your outlook, you're from like, these are things that interest you more.
Yeah, I guess because to me, it all sort of sounds the same except for... Well, no, that's a lie. Because I think that the contrast of a lot of, like, certain instruments against others and certain tones and sounds against others, like, sound really nice to me. And so when I write or I make anything, it's always in the pursuit of that, like, nice sound. Like, for example, I use, like, Tribe Called Quest as an example. Like, I don't know if the music, it's revolutionary rap. They say a lot of really important things. It came out in an era where it was incredibly new and original. But for me, why I like Tribe is the tone of each of the members' voices. Like, I feel like you could put all 5 of them over anything else, and they would still be interesting. They just, every one of their, I don't know what it's called, but what is that hum, that sound that a human makes.
People say timbre sometimes.
Yeah, the timbre, that's it. The timbre of each of their voices is what I like. So for me, when I make music, it's about timbre. Okay. And then about lyrics. And then about my output.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, lyrics are, I assume, with Lilim at least, the new band doesn't have recordings yet, does it?
Wednesday we're going to record with Mr. Kabatin.
Oh, nice. Oh, with newly minted music producer John Kabatin.
Well, and then Mark's going to mix it for us. He's a nice
Mark
boo.
behind the boards. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, for now.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
I'll Lilim, share it with you. With Lilim, you had, like, I remember you talking about it as a concept to me before it was a thing you'd even started, and it seemed to be motivated more from the concept first and what the message was first before the music. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, for sure. And that I wanted to take up space.
You wanted to take up space?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, there's not a lot of women.
Oh, okay. Take up space.
Take up space. Like, you know, I think I probably went to every single Teeth Mark show in Toronto ever.
Yeah.
And, you know, they didn't play with a lot of... I don't think I ever saw them play with a band with a woman in it.
Okay.
And so maybe that was my only real exposure. I didn't really go out... Well, no, I went out to other things. I go see you guys and the defunct Deadmau5 and other bands where buds were in them. But I just got really pissed off at the, like, gender dynamic. I was like, why are the fucking dudes on the stage and there are no... I'm, like, so uninterested. I love the timbre and the sound and I love Teeth Marks, but I've become very uninterested.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm going to take up space, and I'm going to take up space with what I want to talk about, because I also don't hear it. I don't see it. I think there's, like, a couple more... There's, like, a lot bigger bands than us that do it, but it's still not a norm thing because it puts you in a category, and then people go, well, you know, people probably only like you because you're a feminist metal band. And I'm like, you know, I'm kind of cool with that either way. Like, I obviously don't want to be just associated with a genre or for somehow get more attention because, you know, I'm a woman. But at the same time, like, haha, fuck you.
Right.
Like, we also don't make shit music and we work really hard, so too bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, okay, so for you it was
timbre.
So it was timbre. I like that.
It was timbre. Like it was a sound that I hadn't heard, and it was.
So initially, it was kind of like music. It was. I mean, it's just like another. So you already do other artsy stuff, but you were just like, here's another project. I like music, and this seems like there's a need for something here. I just never heard it said as taking up space, although I do hear that word thrown around a lot lately.
Yeah, it's like
space.
Yeah, like, so you see somebody in the space, so you know you're welcome in the space. You know you should be in the space. Mm-hmm. But if you don't see me and you don't see any other women or you know, non-binary trans folk, then you might not think you're supposed to be in the space.
Right.
Like, it's kind of, it sucks because it feels like tokenism, but at the same time, and like, there are definitely way, way, way more women doing awesome shit now, but it's still like we're still not the majority in the space. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which bothers me.
Yeah.
And in no other thing that I do I spend that much time with men. No offense to your whole sex, but I just choose to surround myself in mostly women-centric spaces. So going into music is always a bit of a departure and puts me in contact with people that I don't normally talk to. I don't have that many close male friends anymore because people get married and then there's like weird gender dynamics.
Right.
And I have like one, my friend Alex, you know, Marty, but it's there's not as much access. I don't talk to men as much. Except
when you're in these like
male dominated spaces, and then I'm talking directly to men.
Right.
And I don't know. I guess it's a rattle technique. It's like, hey, this is going to leave a lasting impression so that you remember how weird it is when there isn't one of us around. Or you go down to a festival bill and it's stacked with men.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's weird. Because you've now seen it.
The like, you're weird, or
that's weird. This festival full of men is weird.
That is because it's in stark contrast to this one.
Yeah, to
this one leading light in the darkness.
Not that, but just like exposure to something
okay.
that they don't normally see. So at least it makes them aware, and they can see the contrast, right? They can see.
Right. If they manage to flip it on its head and look at it from the angle you're suggesting, so as opposed to me not really taking away anything deeper, I'd be like, I saw this band and they had a chick singer, and it was fucking actually like really good, dude. And then you just don't talk about it anymore. What you're saying requires sort of an additional step. Like, I saw this band with a girl singer, and then I realized.
And then she called me out about how there were no other women in the room, and like, what else did you see tonight?
Okay.
And, like,
now that's another. That's another aspect.
That's the stuff I talk about, right?
Okay. Yeah, I see. So.
When else am I gonna have like 50 people who paid to be there? Mm-hmm. Like, they're there on purpose, so I don't have to like mince my words on what I'm gonna say to people because they chose to be there, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's good. That's something else entirely. Then you're like, you know, you're making them think about it, which you should. Like, that's what a platform should be used for.
Well, instead of just like slacktivisming it by being like, I'm a feminist and here's me sharing all these articles on the internet, like, you got to do a little more. Like, you got to go and participate on the front of something if you're really going to move it forward. Like, complacency is the murder of all things. Like, So for me, this is how I stay active in pushing my feminist ideologies forward.
Nice. There you go. No,
yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I think something that I was impressed with you was the fact that you said you wanted to do something and you actually did it. I think that's something when I like if I've ever described like, you know, the respect that I have for you.
Okay.
That would probably, it would boil down, that would be the kind of statement I'd make, that she actually often does the things that she resolves to do. I've had like probably about somewhere between a half dozen and a dozen people ask me about, after I told them that I do voiceover, and they, like, inevitably, they're like, oh, you know, like, how do you get into that? Like, not like as a curiosity, but also because it seems so easy, and it kind of is. It seems so easy. You know, maybe I could do it too. And I'm like, okay, you have to get this demo made. And
yeah.
No one has passed the demo phase.
Step 1, yeah.
Step 1, always.
I don't know. I find I'm always at like step 5 by the time. I don't know. For me, like, I think I said this on Steve's podcast too, like the anxiety of not moving forward and becoming stagnant, and not learning and not making and not like feeling very present and living in what you're doing, again, very like cheesy and guru-y, is what always drives me. Also, like, learning new shit is so important. I don't want to get a mushy old gross brain that doesn't work, you know?
Right.
You know, Alzheimer's is a real thing. So not that you can, like, avoid it by, you know, playing metal music, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, think harder.
Think harder. You won't get Alzheimer's.
You just need to constantly...
That was ignorant as fuck. Anyway, sorry for people who might be offended
by
that.
I mean, that's okay. We don't have to. You don't have to. I'll make the apology at the beginning.
Kirsten said some really offensive shit about Alzheimer's.
If you're, yeah.
Feminist, lead singer of feminist band hates on Alzheimer's patients.
She's a dementia phobe.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
There you go.
Hi, buddy.
Good. Yeah,
Well, I'm glad that could be an impressive quality. I just think that, like, I don't know. It was a good perfect storm, though, too. Like, for me, I don't even remember how it all sort of happened. And I remember, like, sort of talking about it with people, but then not really thinking about it very much, and then just asking people, and then just all of a sudden being at the rehearsal factory and being like, oh, okay. Well, that was easy. All these people complaining about how hard work bands are. That was fucking simple.
Well, yeah.
First 3 people I asked said yes. Nice. We started making music. I mean, I'm sure if there had been more hurdles than that, it might not have happened, but...
Yeah, inevitably. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think most people are lazy as fuck. Like, yeah. Super lazy. And I consider it incumbent upon me to not be that way. Which is, again, something that I think I currently suffer a bit of burnout from indirectly.
Yeah.
The whole, like, I don't even know if I 100% understand, although I use the word, the denial and projection, which you'll learn about in school.
Absolutely.
Or is that what it's called? Yeah, projection. You know, like unreliability for me, huge.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't see that in myself. Like, I don't think I'm describing myself in someone else. I guess I just don't understand.
Oh, it's because it's your ultimate fear. It's not necessarily something that you
So it's just
yourself.
Not even something that I could... Okay, well, is that not what projection... Because I thought projection is when you ascribe something that I thought it was an actual thing, that a perceived fault in yourself, but you just admitted it only to others.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure projection only goes out. I mean, I'm not in school yet, so I can't say... say this is completely right, but for me, the idea of what a true projection is, like even to project something is out, right? So,
right.
I would assume based on that, yeah, I mean, do you bring this up because you find yourself noting the faults in others that you can't stand, and then worrying that you might yourself be doing those things?
I can't even, like, really worry about it so much as, I suppose, from time to time when I do drop the ball on things. Yeah.
You, Mike Simpson?
On occasion.
No way.
So, who knows?
Aren't you like a half an hour early to practice at all times and have your shit ready to go the second everybody gets
Practice is these days with me, so it's impossible to be late.
I know, I stole your rhythm section, sorry.
You stole them. Well, they're a package deal anyway.
No,
so.
I only had one first, and then I was like, man, two together.
I can't get enough.
Yeah. Miranda and Adam, action.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
you should have seen Marty's little eyes the first time we got to jam with Adam.
Oh, yeah?
He was so happy.
Oh, nice.
And Marty's little eyes.
Yeah. Well, they love... Well, he also likes hanging out with them a lot, right? So that's a good thing. That's a good thing for band health,
dynamics.
too.
Yeah, when people
it's
like each
good,
other.
You guys talking? All right, good. I got a fucking other project to go to. I'll see you in 3 weeks after I get home from Bristol.
Yeah. They're pretty good about that stuff.
No, for sure. It's more just like, you know, you're just like looking in on the terrarium of your little I know you don't think of them this way, but like your employees. You're just kind of like, how's the health of the organization? It's pretty good.
Oh man.
Motivation's high. All right, great. I know you don't think of them that way.
If anything, I look at like they're like my bosses, and I'm like, how can I better make what you need possible? Like these 3 people like contribute so much time and effort and care into making music with me, and I can't contribute in exactly the same way, and I just really like appreciate that. So if it's like Adam's like, you know, this day's better for me to do this, then like let's fucking move that day so it's better for Adam, right? Like I don't know. So if anything, I feel like I'm like, how can I help? What do you need?
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, we just got through our new merch run, yay. And Adam and Miranda were like super fucking helpful. Miranda like did almost all of it, and then Adam just sort of finished it up, and it was like, oh my god, people contributing, like.
What do you mean they
like helping with like band detail, logisticy stuff, like.
Oh, okay.
Instead of just coming to practice and making stuff.
Right.
Because like when you start a band, you kind of become, in a sense, like not the leader, but the person who like people go, oh, that's your band.
Yep.
And it's not, you know, like it's a nice combination of 4 people who make shit together. It's so cheesy.
Well, that's always. I remember my first interview when I was in a band for Public Access. I was like 16 or 17. And I found myself saying the words, and I made fun of like people who said like, just do what we wanted to do.
You fought hard in the paint. Everybody took their turn.
No, I'm just saying like, it's like, you know, the person's like, I don't even remember what the question is, but you just don't know what else to say, so you default to say like, we don't really think about that, man. We just kind of do what we want to do, you know. And I was like, fuck, because when I was
waste case fucking stoner musician brat, like
when I did a radio show for like a few years, the interviewees who would bring up specific things, little nuggets, were like, that's what you were looking for. You were looking for the thing that wasn't that everyone else didn't ask this person. So I got to interview Rob Halford from Judas Priest, who's like top 5. It was actually one of my top 5 people I wanted to interview. I tell this story all the time. And I had 20 minutes. I made the mistake of my first question being a throwaway to like a seasoned interview veteran. So I was like, how's the tour going? And Rob, I feel like he didn't even wait till I stopped asking the question. And he's like, oh, you know, it's going great. We're playing, and it gets so great to be back in Toronto. And we're going to go on stage at the Molson. We're going to be on stage at the Molson, and the fans are always so, you know, we come out playing Breaking the Law, and it goes on for 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
I'm like, like looking at my watch. Because I was like, I didn't care about that answer. I wanted you to just say good or something and keep going. But he's like, just run out the clock. So anyway, I got some, I managed to squeeze some different things. I got, I got him. He cursed towards the end, which is funny. I don't think I've ever on any recorded anything. I don't think I've heard him curse. He's like, you just gotta fucking try, or something like that.
Nice.
So anyway, that's I don't even know why I mentioned that.
Interviews, trying hard. Giving a shit, not saying cheesy things, but then realizing it's okay sometimes if you do.
There you go. Thanks.
When talking about band dynamics.
You're good. Thanks for keeping.
Hey, no problem.
Keeping minutes.
For a fucking stoner, I'm doing pretty well at retention lately.
That was like roughly the last 10 minutes of what just happened. I think.
Considering I cannot find the dog's leash most of the time. Sometimes I'm
it's a daily thing.
Moving well. Yeah.
The dog's leash.
Yeah, I think we're coming to the end of the Jimmer's life here.
No.
Yeah, I think it's another year and a half max.
How old is he?
He's almost 12 now. Even though I've been secretly saying 13 to people again because of my great dislike of even numbers.
Oh wow, really? It goes that far?
Yeah. Mark called me out on this the other day. He's like, wasn't he 11 last year? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's 13. He's almost 13. In a year and a half.
So even numbers just look too even to you.
Yeah. It's too normal, man. Right. I don't want to be a basic bitch of numbers, you know?
See, there you go. Yeah.
And that term I gotta stop using. I really hate
it.
Is
the bitch thing?
No, because it's separating myself from other women based on this assumption that I'm somehow better than them.
It's pitting you against each other.
Yeah, and I shouldn't do that. I should be accepting of other people's choices. Mm-hmm.
I'll put that at the top.
Yeah, I should be. Yeah, unless you're saying racist, homophobic, transphobic. Fucking
keep going.
Yeah, any of that shit, and then I want to burn you inside your home.
Wow.
With a bar across the door.
Wait, you would do that to?
No, I wouldn't, but I sing about it.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And my therapist says it's totally fine to have escapism.
Escapism. There you go. You got your therapist. Okay.
Yeah. The other day I realized that both my other new band and Lilim represent two of the things about myself I dislike the most. One being my rage, because I used to have very little control. Well, I probably had control. I just chose not to take control and just be intense all the time. And the other one being being a brat. I can be such a brat. And so I get to be bratty in Pretty Boy, and I get to be a rageful bitch in Lilim.
Okay.
And I get to I feel much better now because I have two outlets for these two things about myself that I have a hard time dealing with because they need intense output. So now they have output.
So how do you differentiate between being a bitch and being a brat?
Well, being a brat is has no. Oh, that's a good one. Being a rageful.
Right.
It for me is I'll teach a lesson. I will come back and I will teach you that lesson because you fucking did something. Mm-hmm, so, for example, Kat and I were driving somewhere. We're going to yoga actually, and this gentleman pulled out and slammed on his brakes. We had to swerve. We almost hit another gentleman. So this gentleman sped up in front of us and slammed on his brakes to teach us a lesson.
Yeah.
So I got out of the car with my yoga mat. I was white, blind rage. Got out of the car with the yoga mat, and I'm swinging the yoga mat over my head. I'm I'm gonna fucking kill you! I'm gonna fucking kill you! Put me at risk! You put her at risk! Who the fuck do you think you are? And Kat's back in the car, this is how you die. Someone is going to hurt you for stepping in and trying to teach a lesson. Right? So, Lilim, I get to teach all these lessons, right? If you do this shitty shit, someone might come and burn you down in your house, if you rape them or if you, because that's the kind of rage that incites in me. And in Pretty Boy, getting to be bratty is getting to just admit all the gross, shitty things that you do that don't necessarily respect others,
Okay.
I don't always want to do things that, well, now I'm in control of it, but as a early 20-something, I didn't always want to do things that benefited other people. I wanted to do shit that benefited me.
Yes.
In this very self-centered early 20s sort of way, which is very bratty.
Okay.
And both of these behaviors are direct results of learning. These are my protective behaviors. So in order to keep myself safe and to keep, and I've used safe a few times, and to protect myself against being hurt because I have a lot of like abuse and victimization in my background. These are the things that I use, and they've worked really, really well for the last like 10 years to protect myself, being a brat and being a really aggressive bitch. And I can kind of get away with a lot of stuff because I just convinced myself I don't care, and when I do care, I care because of the right reasons, right?
Okay.
But now I don't need those things anymore. Like, I'm starting to become an adult, and I can, like, be sad and be upset, and people can hurt me, and I can get over it, and I'm not, like, as raw as I was, so it's, you know.
Okay.
It's time to let those two, like, ugly things just, like, live in music for me.
I see.
Yeah, that's kind of...
So they're kind of, so it's kind of a learned, those are kind of, like, learned roles. Like, I listened to a lady on the CBC the other night who was... talking about, I forget her name, Morgenthau? The lady who's been, like, in journalism for, like, 50 years. Anyway.
Oh, Tracy Blatch?
Morgenthau. No,
no.
She was involved in the, like, when abortion was still illegal.
Okay.
She's a feminist. I forget her name.
I believe you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even, like...
I don't even like feminists.
She's a feminist. Can you, like, how do you qualify? Okay, give me your definition of feminism. Because
Equality
I feel like,
for all.
Okay, so you got that one. That's like textbook, I assume. Like, that's, like, central to your...
Yeah, my beliefs, for sure.
Right. So, who would say, assuming they knew that and agreed that that was the definition, because I feel that it means different things to other people.
Maybe. Well, those people are wrong.
No, I
See, that was a bratty move.
Okay, so bratty is, like, kind of like pettiness, too.
Yeah, a little bit, for sure.
Who would say that they weren't a feminist if they thought of it that way?
I don't think anyone could. That's why I like using that definition.
Yeah,
like, you literally have to be
good.
against yourself.
Right. Either that, or you think, like, some people are, like, not worthy of being equal, or
you don't consider some people human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In which case, please point yourself out and let me know, because I want to stay as far away from you as
exactly.
possible.
Exactly. It's
or sing about killing you, but that's fine.
That's it. So, do you think with these like your new self, do you think you've arrived at it and it's like this is the best one? Like,
right now?
Yeah.
No
it's
way.
The best version.
Dude, school is going to unpack, like...
Unpack. You're using the school word before you're even in school.
I use that word all the time.
Unpack.
You can ask Mark.
Do they use that? Do they do that shit at work a lot? Do they use that word?
We do.
Someone told me it's like it's meetings.
It's an advertising word. We're going to take this offline and unpack it.
Offline, yes. I've heard that one too. Yeah.
Which means face-to-face meeting.
And
to talk about
not
something.
during the meeting.
Yeah. So we're going to discuss this later. We're going to take this offline and we're going to unpack it. Don't worry.
That's so fucked up. Like, how many meetings you can have. I'm, like, always amazed when, like, I do my voiceover thing in, like, a half hour because I'm fucking amazing. And thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then the next 6 hours are spent waiting for the vice president of whatever.
Because everyone else's time is completely unimportant, and we are going to wait for the 20-minute window that guy's got free that nobody told the producer, i.e. me, when he was fucking available, and then I make you sit there for 6 hours.
Well, it seems like the meetings they just keep coming.
Yeah, because the reality is that if you show any blood in the water, like in front of a client or in front of an agency, they will attack you. It's like such no offense to everyone I work with every day, but it's a lot of mind games. It's a lot of, like, keeping people calm.
Right.
Because a lot of people treat what they do as if they are curing cancer, because it gives themselves meaning, and, like, I get it. But we are not curing cancer. We're selling eggs or fucking banks or whatever, right? Like, it's not.
Right. Now, do you think, because I think that the whole advertising thing is, like, it's been permitted to go out of control.
Oh, for sure.
Like, in terms of work, the way work is. So if you work for an ad agency, you know, there's lean times and then there's fucking boom times, you know, and the lean times are maybe where your firm that you're on folds, you know, and
it's that time of the year right now.
But then I assume that these people must be making sick money when they're fucking, like, working all the goddamn time.
No, they're not.
But, like, when they're sending, like, 3 a.m. emails on Easter Sunday when there's no boundary. Like, I feel like things like advertising were what, when, I don't know how if it's been enforced, but the French law of like where one can't open their work emails.
I'm
after
sure
6 p.m.
like all the agencies in France went immediately and figured out a way through some sort of law to note themselves as being like an English entity or a German entity or whatever, just to get around that law, because there's no way. There's no fucking way.
That's what I mean. Like it's...
I got an email right now, and I'll keep getting. It's like what, 7:00 on a fucking
Friday. It's just like there is no understanding of personal space, and I just assumed that the cash incentive. I mean, it's fucked for like voiceover. It's certainly way like compare how much you'd make on like doing like something like voiceover to like playing that Bovine on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I once got paid $10 at the Bovine for the band. And I had to sign a fucking receipt for them.
Like, this is degrading. Yeah.
So you have that, and then you're like, you know, making a whole lot more than that for some fucking commercial that it takes like half an hour and then waiting for fucking vice president from wherever to respond and be like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, in my world, on the vendor production side, like, I'm freelance, so I charge what I want when I want, and I feel like I'm pretty well compensated. So because of that, I'm much more willing to be calm and respect, just deal with this insanity, because like, you're paying me to be the person who shepherds the storm. Like, I understand my role as a producer. The agencies, I don't know how you could do that. I watched some art directors and creative directors just like literally kill themselves, and it's like, you're selling stuff. Like, you don't even get to make your own art, and you're killing yourselves, and you're all like, they're all artists in their own right. Like, I have to say, I used to not look at it that way. I used to like make a lot of fun of advertising until I was in it, but I don't know why you would want to put up with that level of abuse for what you're making. I don't get it. It's beautiful, and a lot of the time people do pretty cool shit, and they get to go cool places, and they get to eat cool food, and they have cool experiences, but like at the end they're burnt, and they don't know. Like, I admit to being burnt too. Like, you talked about being burnt out earlier, and it's because you don't even know what relaxing is. If you relax for 2 weeks straight, that's when you start to feel yourself unwind. Like, it takes that long to like unload the taught behavior of like, your phone vibrates, you check it, or like you get up at 9 or whatever. Like, you live this very predetermined, structured lifestyle that's even more intense because there is no true structure to it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And
like
technology's made it worse. Clients are like, well, it's just a website, just build it. And you're like, you have to spend time like, it takes man hours to still build the website, even though it is a digital asset. Like, it's not. Anyways, people are fucking.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Clients are morons sometimes.
Well, it can certainly. But I mean, here's like a deeper theme, like the idea that sometimes you need to, in order to be balanced as a person, you need to realize that like no one is. If you were to think that someone is willfully like stupider or more wrong than you, willfully. And therefore, would you be accepting that they were inferior to you? That would be incorrect. That would be against the tenets of feminism.
Yeah.
So what is it that makes... Because I totally know what you mean, because I've been there, like, I was there, like, doing a fucking commercial, like...
It's because the hierarchy has to exist for the work to get done.
Right. Well, I just mean, but why is it that, some clients just seem to be utterly in the fucking woods about how... not everything can be done now.
Mm-hmm. That's bad client management. That's accounts' job is to deal with that. So if you have good accounts managers, which is really hard to find, and when agencies find them, they keep them and they pay them lots of good. Well, I hope they keep them and pay them lots of good money. But it's not taught, and then other agencies. So agencies essentially compete for the same clients all the time, right? So they're like, well, we'll work 190 hours a week for you at all times and get you exactly what you want and undercut everyone else around us to get the business, right? Yep. So as we keep this limb hacking, which is what advertising is becoming, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no one there to create, as you said, it's lawless. Like there's no one there to show them what the reality of these things are anymore.
Well, to be like,
and the technology sometimes also like pushes it too, right? So I don't have to get film developed, and I don't have to like send a fax. Like I don't have to do those things.
Right. Well, yeah. So now you can give us more work.
Of course, for the same amount of money, though, right? Because you don't need as much space because you're doing this on computers now.
It doesn't cost as much.
Yeah, we don't need you to get a $400,000 camera. You can shoot it on your iPhone.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, I saw a video that Kendrick Lamar made with his iPhone, and you're like, yo, first of all, like, maybe, but probably not.
I love that idea. Like the cool ad guy.
Oh, God.
He's 32. He's like, he goes to music festivals. He's like...
Coachella's his face.
Yeah, exactly. I was talking, really that's how I love...
He just figured out what the flaming lips are.
And like... He like just shows up 25 minutes late to the sessions. His personal experience, like, ooh, look at all the sick catering, blah 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 blah. This is me, and again, this is me. Like especially when you have like a piece of glass between you and someone else, you're like, look at that fucking dick. The guy sucks.
I mean,
bet you I'm gonna see him at fucking Blood Brothers Brewery in the patio later. It's fucking so cool. Anyway.
Well, that's projection.
What, the Blood Brothers part?
Well, no, like it's people normally do that because they're scared people are doing it to them, right? So okay. I beat you to the punch in terms of like dehumanizing you and like not having to consider you, because being empathetic and putting out all that energy is fucking exhausting. So the reality is you're only going to do that for people, one, that you trust, two, that you normally spend time with, and three, that you think deserve it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this guy, this random dude who doesn't affect you, but for some reason triggers something in you that makes you feel judgment. Mm-hmm. Normally some subconscious thing, maybe more conscious if you really thought about it. Yeah. So you do it first. I don't know if that has anything to do with feminism and equality, because that's like you taking on issue with another male with you. So that might be more dominance, or I don't know, whatever primal thing you guys are sorting out, but to your subconscious. But yeah, I don't know how much that has to do with feminism. Equality for all to me is just like everyone else other than white cis men now having the same opportunities as white cis men. Right. Like, it's not about you guys losing anything. It's about us being the proverbial, grouping that is not considered cis, white, and hetero, getting afforded the same luxuries as you guys. Right. That's it.
Yeah. No,
people think of it as like, oh, I'm gonna get something taken away from me because of feminism. It's like, no, dude, that has nothing to do with it.
What's that scenario?
Well, that's if somebody wants to be equal, that means that I'm gonna lose something. It's like that's not actually how
something is going to be taken away.
Yeah, it's actually like not even how math fucking works. But go ahead.
Right.
Well, we can't possibly just become equal. Like something is gonna have to be taken away. And again, with that, some people may argue that is absolutely true, and maybe a couple blocks have to be taken out of the white cis hetero building and put into the other building. But then again, we're back to even, so you're not really gonna be missing out on much, maybe a little bit, in order for us to then also have a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Versus the judgment of another person based on like skin or sex or height or clothing or whatever.
Sorry. I thought you were going to go back to... I didn't mean to laugh at that.
It's okay.
I was laughing because I thought you were going to go back to my session with the dude with the cool shirt and pants. And
I was.
I thought you were like... I was going back there. Comparing the difference between the two.
I was. Can we pause again so I can pee?
Yeah.
I'm so well hydrated today. I don't want to talk about poo again.
Sure. Again.
Ever since we became gluten-free, like a decade ago, pooing is a whole...
Man, you have to gluten-free before that was even like a mainstream concept.
Yeah, I guess so. I never really thought about it that way.
That's pretty cool. You got into it. You got in before...
Yeah, I got in right. Because that was so easy when you were hungry and you wanted to eat something and nothing was gluten-free for 4 years or 5 years before... everybody started to have their own gluten-free menu or whatever else.
Yes. But that was later.
I know, but it was nice. I was totally stoked for people to, even if they weren't allergic, they just wanted to avoid it. Great. Now all these products exist that I can eat, so I'm stoked. Please, gluten-free people, don't eat gluten. It sucks. And that way, even the shitty gluten-free breads that they have might get better because more gluten-free people. You got to improve the product.
You got the R&D on that all of a sudden. So how does this affect what you excrete? That it makes it like
my body actually absorbs my food now. So like people who normally get sick off of like who are celiac or who can't digest lactose, like it fucks you up so that your body and your colon cannot absorb the nutrients in your food. So you actually get kind of sickly. So for me, like, my hair would kind of come out. Oh, wow. I would get really bad acne. I would lose a lot of weight. So was this as the result of gluten intolerance? Like, yeah, pretty much. My body's just not made to deal with those sugars that in bread or in cheese. This is really boring. Sorry, everybody. Is it? I really kind of like talking about my allergies. I just don't know. Shit. Like, I don't know how much this is meandering. That like one hit of weed I had was apparently like just enough to like either that or I didn't even smoke you on the indica that I have, which is like fucking so nice. Yeah. Yeah. I smoked Miranda on some yesterday, and the whole plan is to call her later and ask her how it went. to ask her how it went. How'd it go? Yeah. How'd you feel? Did you go home? What'd you do? Were you snacky? I'm not really snacky. Are you snacky? Well, that's because we, like me, her, Adam, and Marty are like big potheads. Like Lilim, like we joke that we should have a weed leaf on like our on our merch. Like, yeah. You know? So I'll sometimes like ask Miranda like how she liked the weed. Or we'll all talk about how this joint we just smoked, like how it's affecting us. Like this weed that Miranda brought last week, the four of us were fucking idiots afterwards. Like, could not remember past two songs in the set. Really? They're like, what are we playing next? I was like, I don't know. What haven't we played? Like, yeah, it's weird. A bunch of weirdo stoners. It's really weird when you like, when the thought is just completely gone. When it poofs. Yeah, when it's like when you try to recall it. Yeah, that's something that's real different. When you're high versus when you're not. Yeah. You can't work back. It's gone. Yeah. That can happen. I find though that like I bet if you talk to people who don't smoke weed, there is some memory loss already at this age. I have to believe that that's the reality. Like like even now, like I have a lot of friends whose lives live on lists. Lives live on lists. Yeah. Really? And that to me means we're doing too much if we can't remember. Yeah. I don't know. I agree. Yeah. So you think like the ideal list would be between 1 and 5 items long? Because isn't the average human number of items one can memorize around 5? Yeah, that's normally how they do. Like I think that's what I'm at. Yeah, when you get like a concussion. Totally fucking checked it out to make sure I was in the. You know, I wasn't on the dumb side. You hadn't dumbed down in your old age. At least 4. All that 4. Loud head banging and shit. All that loud head banging. Used to do it on things. I did have to get stitches after getting hit by another dude in a mosh pit like 10 years ago. Yeah, it wasn't that much. It was like 5, but like. Oh, yeah, it was just I hate stitches. They're probably my least. I'd rather have a bone reset than get stitches. Yeah. But you're all like frozen and shit. And I don't. I did not like the. I don't like them. They dissolve a lot of times. No, they like rip. My cuts just. The cuts are not like normal people cuts. Rip apart. If you thought that maybe gluten might actually help your cuts be more receptive. I sewed it. They sewed it back. I got this brake lever in my leg, playing bike polo. A brake lever. Yeah, like really? The like blunt end of the brake lever like went through my leg, and I pulled it out, and like all these like googly pieces. Oh, were, whoa, like, that's so attached. Crazy. Okay. And I did the whole thing where I took my shirt off and I wrapped it around my leg, and I just like took a breath. And I went. You had that tourniquet. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna bleed out through my quad like that. And I sat down. I was like, I need a cigarette and a joint, and I was like, at the time, Aaron, Wind, and I were still talking and still best friends, and. I was like, somebody needs to call Aaron, and he needs to come and get me and take me to the emergency room. Oh, wow. But they sewed it up, and then, like, I played a whole tournament with it sewed up with it taped, And then...
No big deal.
But left it the stitches in like 15 days after they said to take them out.
Ooh.
And I still... The same day, the cut just split right back open. Or the hole just split back open. Like, it didn't do shit.
My experience with stitches was quite positive.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, they just froze it. And, thought it was kind of amusing that I'd gotten it in a mosh pit in a heavy metal show.
Nice.
And holy shit, it was like that emergency room visit was like, first of all, it was like 6 hours because I was very low on the triage list of things to take care of.
Right, no gunshots.
No gunshots, yeah, no overdoses, nothing. So I'm just sitting in that room, and it's like, man, it's so sad. That waiting room at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Which hospital?
St. Joseph's.
Yeah, St. Joseph's is pretty sad.
Oh my god.
I'm a Mount Sinai gal myself. I will go across town to go to Mount Sinai. Their emergency services are excellent. Good job,
excellent.
Mount Sinai.
This program is sponsored by
Mount Sinai Emergency Center, who have stitched me up, casted me, and fixed me multiple times.
Maybe I can talk to them, see if we could get a...
I love Mount Sinai. That's a weird thing to say. I was born at Toronto General, right across the street. But...
Oh wow, just keep it local. Yeah. I definitely no. I go to the urologic center of the Murray Koffler Urologic Wellness Center. So I'm pro Sinai too all the way. Best out of the UHN.
Yeah, for sure.
University Health Network.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Don't
go to Western either. Western's shit. Bathurst and Dundas.
I went there for a sleep test.
It takes forever. That's the slowest hospital for sure.
Okay, St. Joseph's is fucking 6 hours. That's a long ass
St.
time.
Joe's is pretty long too, because you know what? They're in more of a geriatric neighborhood. There's a lot of older folk that go through St. Joe's. I'm saying the most active hospitals, from what I hear, because I'm such a fucking expert, are the ones up in the boroughs, up in Scarborough.
That's what. Okay, you gotta.
And like East York have some pretty good, like busy and like good emergency rooms.
You just gotta sit with that tourniquet for like an hour and a half. Just sit tight.
I have broken so many bones.
Yeah, well.
So many sports, so much bones.
That's I've never broken anything.
So many people have not broken bones.
I haven't lived.
Mark's never broken a bone either.
Never broken a bone?
I don't get it.
It's not
have you guys never took a hit the wrong way? Like this? Oh, right. You guys don't really play sports.
Yeah. I assume Mark's not a sporty guy.
He's not.
Funny because he looks like he could be, The
best is when people walk up to him with Jimmy, and they're like, "Oh man, is that a Don Cherry dog?" And, and he'll be like, "Is that a football player?" Just to piss them off.
Yeah, it's funny. See, that's something that's probably interesting going to like metal shows and stuff. Is I'm impressed at how, I find it comforting because I'm the same way. Everyone is has no connection with sports at all.
Me.
Except you.
Yeah, I guess just me.
No, but think of anyone else you can think of.
I know. I feel very left out of your cool group.
They're cool. No, we don't play sports.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you ride bikes around and use a hockey stick?
That's the one I play now. I've played sports my whole life.
Oh, okay. So you're just an athletic person.
Yeah, I was joking. Miranda and I had kind of she probably won't mind me sharing this, but we were like, she's hanging out here, we were going to write music, then we just got stoned and giggled and laughed about life instead. And I was saying I had always had such this intense friend crush on Miranda, but never had any access to her and never felt no, seriously, I wasn't cool enough to be Miranda's friend.
Really?
Oh yeah, for sure. And she thought that was ridiculous, but I thought that, but even in high school, I so badly wanted the people who didn't play sports and the artists and musicians to hang out with me, and no one wanted to hang out with me. I didn't want to hang out with the jocks. And even now, I still feel like I don't get to be a part of the cool group because I play sports.
Really? That's how you...
I feel sometimes a little on the outside, yeah.
You could buy into the jock side of things. Why not? I never had that opportunity.
I gotta go over to hardcore and just play bro-y hardcore shit. That's where all the jocks are. I don't want to hang out.
There's probably some militant feminist,
Oh, there are, for sure, war on women and stuff, for sure. Right,
but, males who, are, just get really fucking pissed about. And they're like, I'm so sorry for the patriarchy.
Yeah, while they're like fucking juiced out roid monkeys.
Really bizarre combination of things.
I'm confused on how you're soft when you look so intense.
I'm really sensitive to you and everyone.
I don't do these push-ups to get rid of my feelings. I do them to feel my feelings.
It's mindfulness meditation. Feel the breath. That's and I bet I feel like that probably does exist. That guy does exist. Like,
but I don't want to hang out with him. I want to
really
hang out with you guys.
Well, but he's probably so misunderstood. Yeah. Well, I mean, I appreciate that. Thank you. All you have to do is not be good at sports, and then you'll not be interested.
I need them to be even and balanced and kind.
Sports create kindness, eh?
Maybe that's my mom. I think she's like, well. You tried dealing with you when you're 6. I had to put you into like 4 to 5 hours of exercise a day just to get you to balance out.
Balance out, hey? Okay. Well, yeah, because that's really the road to not caring about sports is just because you're not fucking good at them.
I don't know I'm good at
That's my story.
Right.
Like, also not being particularly social as a young person, so like or being antisocial, just not knowing how to fucking talk to people when I was young. So like,
was that like you just didn't want to do? Like, I'm always interested to understand introverts because I'm obviously not one. So, and I always wanted every introvert to like me. It would drive me insane if the introverts wouldn't be my friends.
Well, but a lot of times it's probably like they just need their space.
Exactly, they're like
you're like, come on, don't you want to hang out with me every day all the time? Because I'm an extrovert and I always like people around me.
Yeah. I recharge off you.
Yeah, so like when you're not around people, if you're talking about that whole recharging thing, is it like you're like pew?
Pretty much.
So is that why like while the ship's going down, you're like, gonna smoke weed now, I'm just gonna accelerate that, end my day.
I think I definitely medicate with weed for a few different reasons. That's probably one of them. Because I live by myself and my job's pretty independent and I spend a lot of time alone.
But you constantly, like, your work does involve
others, but not like my friends. I don't feel like I relate very well to the people in my industry. My work friends, like my direct colleagues are my buds for sure. But
no, I just mean like whatever, client doesn't matter. You have humans contact with people.
Yeah, but it's different. Like, I call it the Care Bear stare contact versus the regular contact. Like, when I'm talking to you, I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about sports, and I really don't want to talk about whatever new restaurant you went to. And, like, when I'm at work, that's the shit I got to talk about.
Okay.
But, like, if I'm with you, I'm like, can you explain to me, like, why you feel maybe you might have been an introvert as a child? Like, that's what I fucking care to have a conversation about.
Right. Okay, so do you, because I've had this conversation about 1,000,000 times where, you're like, the normal people. We're just trying to understand, like, where you fucking normie people come from. Like, what, do you think that it's just some people, do you think you can successfully get through your entire life, like, in today's day and age, and not be, not self-involved, that's the wrong word, but just be self-aware. Do you think that a person can go through and be, and not, like, if you were to bring up, like, what's it like as an introvert to someone who, because if you brought that up to me, and I didn't know you, I'm pretty damn sure I would immediately delve into it.
Yeah.
So assume you do that to someone who's just fucking normal. Do you think it's possible that you could go through your whole fucking life and not have a point when you're like have an epiphany where you're like, shit, man, there's a lot of shit underneath this very simplistic way that I'm approaching life?
No, I don't think you can.
I think maybe in the past that might have been possible.
Yeah, if you were like living a relatively isolated life, doing the same things that maybe your parents did, for sure you could have maybe have avoided that. I think it's funny because I probably project this on every person that does something that I find very unaware of others. Like, oh, you just like pulled your car into the bike lane and parked it there, like, you must be an ignorant piece of human shit.
Right.
That knows
it's
nothing.
Very easy to do
that knows nothing about themselves and is never reflected in turn. Like,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think when I'm like biking past the cabbie in the fucking parking spot.
Right.
In the bike lane.
So not to make you lose your train of thought, but when you mentioned that empathy was exhausting, which I'd agree. Something that I earmarked there was when you go through that mental process of being like, wait, before I call this person an asshole in my head, maybe he didn't sleep well last night. Maybe he's this. That's an example. That's a concrete example to me of what you're describing as empathy being exhausting, because
that's exactly it.
In order to even things that make no sense, like the fucking fire truck is coming behind me, and I'm like, oh, there's a fucking fire truck. Only me. I'm the only one that this happens to, making me 30 seconds later to wherever I gotta go. I'm very good at defending against that now, because it's just like, well, I'd like to know that the fire truck could get to me too in time. That's a pretty, but I fully admit that self-interested thought will exist, will pop in no matter what. I just realize how silly that is. So I guess anyway, that's what I was wondering, if when you were talking about how to be empathetic, if we turn that into an action, that's an example. And yes, there comes a point in my day where it's like, I don't even want to afford this person or this scenario that amount of judgment. It is like totally. Just like, ultimately it would be nice if I could just be like, this person or this person is reasonably good and well-meaning, despite being, for whatever they've strayed from. They
like
don't.
Societal agreement.
They're not educated on a particular thing. Whatever.
Right.
Can we just establish that as rule number one, so that I can just be forgiving of everyone? And unfortunately, it's not that easy. I wish it was.
I think that it's a muscle, just like anything, that you have to practice, because, and like, I talk about this, a lot of my male friends and I will have this conversation where they do talk about the exhausting nature of having to like do the multiple consideration when you're dealing with a situation that either is making you uncomfortable or you're finding yourself like confusion generally. Like, it's not always anger or rage. It can be just plain old like, what the fuck was that? And because there isn't this, because of the privilege that most of my white male friends have, they don't necessarily have to think about their reaction as much. So there isn't that practice of empathy. There isn't this thinking of the other, because it's just not taught. So it can be way more exhausting. But for me, and because I am an extrovert who recharges off of people like a leech, and my job is incredibly ego management based, I will have thought of 120 different reasons why this person could have done it. And then I will probably reassess whether or not I'm going to give that person that patience today. Because if you give that patience to everybody who pisses you off, and for me, that could be up to 100 people a day, because I am a very rageful person, and a lot of shit ends up feeling like, this is against me, and I got to do the fight out. Because I've been practicing it more and more and more now, it's I don't even have I can just dismiss these people. I can dismiss people a little bit easier and being like, okay, I'm uncharged now. You go live over there. I'm going to go live over here. And I may not probably like expedite any I may not give you any energy for this.
Okay.
Unless I'm being paid for it, in which case I'll deal with it. But
right. Okay. So, but do you find what you're describing is just you not...
the art of giving less fucks.
Yeah, not being affected by it.
Right. And then...
And not even having to contemplate what your opinion of this person is at
right,
all.
Because you're just like, I'm not going to get... This person could have had a bad day, but I'm actually just like not even going to think about the 150 reasons, even though I already have, because that becomes really exhausting when you practice the muscle, and you may do it 2 or 3 times, and then you're doing it up to 150 times to calm yourself down. let's just know that we can do that work, and we know that we can, like, accept these people for their multitudes of differences from how you would react, and they're not you, and that's okay, and they're not Kat, or they're not Mark, or they're not, you know what I mean? Like, they're not these people that I allow into my space all the time that make me happy and make me calm and make me feel good. This is someone out there, and that's okay, and I'm going to just let them keep moving on with their day, and I'm not going to let them get any affect from me. Because I'm also so easy to hype up. Like, so easy. It's, like, Mark's favorite thing to do. Is, like, to get that, like, oh my god reaction. Like, not in an angry way, but just to, like, you can say something that you know. Like, you could probably figure out something to say to me. They'll be like, what? Really? No. Really? Oh my god. Shut up. Like, maybe it's being a gullible person, too, but... I just can't output that energy to always care about how this other person's going to react.
Well, hell, if you can't do it, I can't do it. I think that there's... Yeah.
But I think you have to practice through that empathy first, because then I feel like I did my due diligence. I was like, okay, I've done all this work, and it's okay if this person upsets me, and it's okay even if I get upset, but why don't I just, like, and this person today doesn't get to have it. I'm going to keep that energy for myself, and I'm going to expend it on maybe the dude who cut me and Kat off so I can get out and, like, threaten him with the fucking yoga mat, which is not a good use of that energy, but is an example of a use of that energy.
So do you think in an ideal world you would, or given enough practice, you would be like, all right, how's my energy stores right now?
Pretty much.
It's like, you'd be like, hey,
yeah,
you got more than 16 items in that, bitch.
I'm calling you out today. I have the energy.
Just because the cashier is too much of a wimp to say anything doesn't mean I am. And I know everyone behind me is, and everyone else, like, they're just looking away like they don't know you.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what I saw one time? I
love that shit. That's so my jam.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely occurred to me. There's some things, like,
my dad to a T. That's my dad.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if he calls it out, then hey, man, awesome.
So embarrassing as a kid, though. Like, do you really need to use that language? Do you think with all that education that you apparently had, you could find a better word than swearing around my children? And I'm like,
damn.
Oh my god, I'm 10. I know what the F word is, Dad. Please stop. We're in an elevator. Like, I'm so embarrassed.
Hey, but that's good. I think that's good teaching. I think that, I wouldn't consider myself a particularly confrontational person.
But it's made me incredibly confrontational.
Well,
having that as
maybe too much.
Having that as an example, not to blame my father for my behavior, but for sure learned, like...
Yeah. No, I think that's a... what I was going to describe was at the express lane at Freshco... A couple of years ago, it was two people in front of me, and then me, or then I got another guy, and then me, and we're watching while the one guy is up there with his 16 items, and then someone who's clearly his wife comes back with an additional couple of extra items for her separate purchase of 16 items, which they're probably all going to put in the same car, because they're fucking actually 32 items, and then the guy in front of me was just like, dude, we just get had? I was like, I think we did. But yeah, so like, one of my roommates, for example, has started painting the house. However, her record on painting, and I really don't want to turn this into talking about my roommates because, mainly because it could go on for way too long, but also in the off chance that one of them happens to listen to this because of the fabulous success of this podcast.
Well, anything with 13 hashtags.
that's the rule,
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
And by 13, we actually mean 12, but we say 13 instead.
Just
because,
in case. It's better.
When you had your 12th birthday, did you say you were 13?
Yeah, pretty much.
So she, like, I don't know, to put it in context, she spent, like, about 2.5 months painting the fucking bathroom. How big is a bathroom?
No.
That's super laziness and, like...
I thought she was just going to be anal. It's
the
only reason anything should take 2.5 months.
So anyway, now, a kitchen that was, for some reason, I didn't ask for it to be painted. She just wanted to fucking do it. It was like a reno, what you called it. She was like, yeah, it'll probably be done the end of this weekend. That was 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it was just like, this like white fucking splash, like where there's just primer still and there's the fucking tape is everywhere. It doesn't really, I don't think I really care. But part of me feels like I should.
You're owed. You feel owed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's only after that thought enters my mind. The initial walking into the kitchen is just like, do, get my cereal. It's not to like, you know, looking at the shit. And then you're like, wait, injustice is happening right now. What would you do in that scenario?
Oh, I would have been mad before I even walked in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but that's me working on my stuff. I have a bad habit of, like, I'm very, very, very observant. So I will see everything much faster than most people. And again, it's a byproduct of my job.
Right.
So, like, you know, I can tell you what's out of place in a room if I walk back in. And I can, like, I can note, like, oh, that's not, like, I like my things a certain way, which is why I live by myself. I'm not necessarily, like, a clean person, as you can see. I have shit everywhere, but...
This is comparable to
it's relatively, you know, it's messy, but it's not dirty, and, like, I don't want any of my shit moved. I like my... Anyway, so if somebody was painting, yeah, I'd probably... And it didn't get done in a timely fashion, or at least at the speed at which I could do it, I would get irritated. But I don't always know if that's the best way to deal with those types of varying looks at time completion, like how long something should take somebody, you know, what expectations you should have of them. Should they be similar to the expectations you have for yourself, you know? And then do you get to say anything if you actually didn't even help paint the kitchen? There's another one.
The kitchen didn't need to be painted.
That's subjective.
But when does the kitchen actually need to be painted?
I am not sure what the exact time or date or reason for
kitchen painting is. But the answer is it, like, never has to be painted.
But for if she or they or he has this need for...
It's a she, but thank you. You included
everybody. Has a need for external beautification, who am I to judge, right?
I don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, there you go.
But here's the other thing.
Okay.
It's common space.
Okay, but is it, like, really affecting you?
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's the part of me that feels like,
You're still owed,
you gotta stand up for injustice.
Which is probably where your frustration with, like, people not coming through on the things they say they're gonna do.
How's that?
It just shows, like, a lack of laziness or drive or completion or an ability to, like, do the things you say you're gonna do. Like, it's similar in that sense.
Okay. So I have that.
Yeah, somewhere. So you hate that, as you mentioned at the beginning of our chat. So I could see why that would why you would feel owed in the sense of this kitchen.
Right. Right. Okay. But I guess so the
But then do you project on her that she's never done any self work? Because how could she fucking leave the kitchen like that? Because I probably would do that.
I think self work is you.
Yeah.
I would definitely use the word laziness.
Okay.
And I would compare myself favorably
to
that because I would check my record of, at least in my own. You ever have things where
Mark's taught me not to keep score. I find it like I feel much freer as a human now that I've let go of keeping score.
Good for you.
Yeah. Try it. It's fun.
Okay.
You just have to care less.
Oh, okay. This isn't related to that, so I don't feel like I'm dwelling on that. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And I think Mark's a great guy to bring something like that up. But, like, if you ever have, like, a personal quality that you value in yourself and you really wish, because of your own just lack of self-validation, you want other people to bring up the thing, like...
Yeah, I had this conversation again with Mark yesterday where I was like, I'm really chill. Like,
and you wanted him to be like, that's right, you are. I've always noticed that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, or no, what did I say? I'm very cautious is what I said. And he was like...
Oh, so cautious.
And he was like... It was silence, and I was like, I just sort of do this, like, I have a bit of a routine, I always go the same way to work, like, I'm cautious, like, I know what works, and I do it over and over again, and in my head, that's being cautious, and he was like, I would not use that word to describe you, and I was like, what? I am so, like, careful, and he was like, okay, you play a contact bike sport on concrete. I was like, I can see why that might not look cautious, like,
there you go.
And then he gave me a couple other examples, and I was like, yeah, but I so badly wanted somebody to, like, I always want somebody to, there's definitely things that I wish people would say, I noticed you do this, because it's like stuff you're working on. You're like, so I want to appear like organized, because even though my job is all organization, I'm not very organized. It's a lot of like flying by the seat of my pants most of the time. But no one's ever gonna point that out because I'm not that organized.
Right. Yeah. No, it's always, but I always wish that those aligned. I don't know what it would be. I guess it would be that, like, getting shit done. I guess that's something that I feel like I need the validation of.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I felt like you warmed up when I noted that I appreciated the rollout of your social media and like marketing presence and the work that you do.
Really? You think I did good?
You think it was all right?
Ooh, I feel warm all of a sudden.
Yeah, is this what acceptance feels like?
Well, even just the simple idea of you like noticing something that I've done is on its own. Like when you're putting shit on like the internet.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why I'm maybe a bit burnt out, is because there's no indication that it goes outside of the pit of noise and that anyone sees it or cares about it. So it's kind of like just being spotted doing something. It's so rare. I hit a guy's car like a couple weeks ago.
Oops.
Not bad enough that and insurances had to be swapped or whatever. But it's just weird in a negative way in terms of that experience. It's so weird to end up in someone's, for me at least, to end up in someone's crosshairs. In general.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I don't know that except when I'm like performing or something. Like I'm not occupying someone's. Anytime I get called out in a good or a bad way, it's like it's special in one way or another.
Okay, I can see that. I find that I can very consistently feel like the nail that stands out the furthest. And yet, unfortunately, I feel like my interests naturally put me into a space that you become visible.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily, like, if you could play a show and then get off the stage and just go home, I'd be so into that.
So you don't want the after part where you're saying thank you? Or?
Yeah, I don't really, like, that, like, being complimented or being seen makes me, I prefer the other side where people don't tell me that they see it. I don't want to talk about me at all. Like, in that weird way, it makes me feel very uncomfortable, which is bad because you should feel good about the things that you do, right? Mm-hmm. You should feel some pride for them, and yet I sometimes am a little embarrassed because I feel that I will get associated or targeted or promoted with that action that I do or this thing that I do in mind. So it's like the other day I showed up to work dressed exactly the same way I'm dressed right now, which is black pants and a black sweater. I'm not particularly well dressed, and I had to go meet a client, and I made the comment like, "Fuck, I look really like lazy," essentially. And my boss was like, "No, it's fine, because you front a metal band." Like his idea was he was like, "This is who you are. Like, you can't be anything else except for the things that I see you as."
Okay.
And so that stuff makes me very uncomfortable, because then I feel like I don't really have an opportunity for you to get to know me, because you assume these things about me based on things that you see me do.
But isn't that, at least for convenience, like where most would have to stop?
No, but I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people won't approach me or talk to me or deal with me. Like I was talking about, like this want for introverts to talk to me. Like, if you're doing all these loud things, which is things that I like to do, that get attention, then I'm like, fuck, like, some people won't talk to me. They won't feel safe. They won't feel comfortable because it's too loud. And I want everyone to talk to me because I want everyone to be my friend, because I'm a fucking weirdo that way. Mm-hmm. So I get anxious about that attention, because attention changes the power structure too, right? So you don't necessarily, like, if someone's just watched you on stage, or they've seen you at Polo, or they come to your work where you're the boss, they only look at you in these certain ways, and then the power shifts, the dynamic shifts in your relationship. Whereas, like, when you get to know someone closely, like, and they have the opportunity to see you as your different layers and more of the reality of who you are, I feel so much more comfortable that way. And I feel like my conversations are richer and my time is better spent and, like, all this other stuff. So I don't know, I get uncomfortable with that attention. And I know I do a bunch of stuff that puts me in the place to get that attention. But I don't do that stuff for that reason. So, that reason is an unfortunate byproduct of just, like, getting to do the stuff you want to do.
So after you play,
yeah,
and you're milling about and having people talk to you, you wish that you didn't have to receive those compliments and be seen as the person who just played a show.
Yeah.
Because you think that might limit that person or your ability to
connect with that person. Or for them to let me in.
But that wouldn't happen at all if you just disappeared after you.
I know, but maybe... I know. It's just to avoid that fear. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Then how else would I meet that person? And then I assume in a more, like, neutral setting, and maybe I would get to meet that person, like, at a party, at a normal party.
And first of all, you'd find out so much about each other, and then he'd finally, or she or they would finally be like, by the way, I saw your show, but now my viewpoint of you is so much more multifaceted.
Well, it's like trying to tell people that you're, like, just want to be chill and calm, and that you're, like, a pretty happy person when you're, like, screaming about burning, like, throwing a bunch of shitty dudes into a fucking church and then nailing the door shut and burning them. Like, you know, I don't feel... Those are all things I feel and I think, and they're very graphic and violent, and they're never things I would ever do, but they're my escapism, and to do that in front of people and to be that vulnerable... Like, of course, is going to paint me in a certain way, but I so badly want people to see me past that way. I want someone to know that I'm cautious, you know? Right. But you're not necessarily going to get that from looking at the things that I put out, you know?
Like, I don't think I know you well enough to say whether or not you're cautious, so I'll give you that one.
Okay.
I'll give you that one.
Like, I feel like I'm surrounded by, like, for example, my friend Irene, okay? She bought herself, like, she doesn't know how to fucking... drive a boat, okay, but she bought a yacht and she lives on it. Oh. I've been talking about buying a boat and living on it for 2 years. She did it in 5 weeks. She sent in an offer and then, like, went on vacation for 3 weeks and didn't answer her email. And so the people she was buying the boat from thought she was hardballing and dropped the price.
Amazing, wow.
And then she got it for cheaper and then met this guy named Wolf and got Wolfgang to drive the boat to where she lives. And then Wolf just taught her everything and she's just living out, like, you know what I mean? That's not cautious. She just went and did that. I'm so jealous.
So she's not cautious. So if I ever meet Irene...
Irene's the shit. She's the coolest.
She's, but not... Caution to the wind.
I would not say Irene is a cautious person, no.
Okay. Good to know.
But I feel like in comparison to almost all my girlfriends, I am the most cautious.
You are the most cautious, eh?
But I don't know if they would say that. But I feel like I am.
Do you think they... So wait, they wouldn't say it, but would they think it? Or they just aren't even thinking about it?
I don't know. Like, living in the same apartment for 5 years, only ever having lived in Toronto my whole life.
Okay, you gotta spend the year in Berlin or Southeast Asia.
Yeah, like, I'm pretty fucking set. Like, I go to the same coffee shop. I live in the same neighborhood.
But that's your thing now versus theirs.
Yeah.
So you feel this... That's your niche. I feel like...
Yeah, it's what makes me, like, a cautious, like, accessible person. Cautious. Like, versus being someone on stage in a suit covered in blood yelling about burning the patriarchy. I feel like my cautious, coffee-going self, like, hopefully will make lots of buds, you know? Like, but you're all those things. I know, but I hide the stuff that I do from people a lot. When if I can meet somebody outside the confines of those things, I won't even tell them.
But then eventually, so let's say your goal or your idea of connection with someone in the absolute sense gets to happen. Then at some point,
Yeah,
you get to reveal. Like, are you ready? Today is the day to reveal this to you. This part of me.
Yeah.
That if you went to Coalition, you would know
you would
about.
Miss. Yeah.
You would just. Yeah. So is that like, that would come later? Hey, you want to be like. First of all, let them know you're cautious.
Yeah, okay. Let them know I'm cautious, I like my routines. I like my coffee a certain way.
Yeah, okay.
I put my fucking shit in my backpack in a certain way. I have ways, And then they would know, maybe they'd know about my dietary restrictions. Maybe like the next thing. So it's like a safe thing to share that people won't immediately go like, you're a fucking weirdo. Like, I think probably being a normie is easier. I have a lot of jealousy for normal people. As whatever you want to call them.
Because it's taken for granted? Like, everything's just kind of like...
This perceived... I feel like you get to be a part of this bigger group. Like, I wish I really did enjoy going and watching a sports game with people who like to watch sports. Not to call them all normies, but if you gather in a place all at the same time to do the same thing, isn't that sort of binding in a way? Like, wouldn't you feel stoked? Like, I feel like metal is like that in a sense, but we don't really get the chance to talk to each other. It's so fucking loud.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the perfect anti-social event. Like,
yeah, it's like going to the
which
movies. Doesn't
work for me because I'm like, hi, do you want to be friends? Hi. What do you like?
You're like a Labrador.
I'm a little bit like a Labrador. Squirrel.
So excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess, like, think about, like, I wonder if sports guys, like, imagine guys that are, like, sports nerds. They probably are. They probably call themselves that.
Yeah.
Because if I thought of it, a friend of mine said this, and I believe it. If you thought of it, it's happened.
Yeah.
So...
I agree with that. Nothing's original.
Nothing's new under the sun.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's super stoked sports guys that kind of, like...
there's the math. Well, for sure.
Overanalyze. Okay, so guys who like check stats and have like pools with their friends and shit, and like.
Yeah, I don't know how much you're friends with people when you're betting against them, but I hear what you're saying with being like a group of people that you're doing a similar activity with.
When you're betting against them.
Well, like if you're doing a sports pool, you're normally betting, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's.
Is it just? I don't know.
The only time I ever did it.
If you weren't making it,
well, because
there isn't a game.
Because you win. You stand
There's
the chance
the game.
of winning, and then there was like some stupid fake trophy that got.
Well, fuck, extra game.
Yeah, straight up.
Fucking Instagram material right there.
Oh yeah.
Selfie with your sweet new.
But chances are, if your Instagram material is like the sports trophy, you're probably not that heavy on Instagram. It's like your wife likes it, and her friends, and her. So
people who win these things have wives?
I think some of them. Yeah, no, I have some friends who are like, it's like, that's like their extracurricular, like non-work thing for their like grown-up jobs that involve things I don't understand.
Right.
That
was a big circular conversation.
You mean that last wing of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick apart the themes here.
There isn't any. This is the gift of gab. This is my favorite thing to do. It's just like talk.
See, like that's something that I appreciate it. I don't think I would say I'm more like 75% dudes I'm around and 25% women, and to generalize, it just the feminine ability or like learned ability, if you like, to just kind of expound upon something.
Well, because you're trying to like please, extent. Right?
Is that what it is? Because
yeah, it's about being like a participatory in the ways that you want. So it's a lot of like mimicking and behaving, not always consciously, but a lot of learned behavior. And so women have the ability, because they practice it more.
Okay.
Because they'll notice the silence. Like if a conversation ends in a weird way, there's always this like drive to how are we going to fill that next piece of that voiding space. And because that is a pleasing activity that pleases somebody, that the conversation continues to go on. If you're reading the situation right, which is what women do, they read, like, not what women do, but a lot of women have a pretty good grasp of body language and behavior. Because again, it's something that you practice and you talk about more, right? We just have, it's the brilliance of feelings and emotions and not having to be stuck under like the ideals of masculinity like you guys. So
well, I don't know. I don't really feel, I just wish I had that opportunity more often, something like this more often, because it's something that you know, when girls get together, I'm sure this isn't always the case.
Okay, women get together.
No, just like the conversation that I think is like, you know, when your buddy's like broken up with his girlfriend or whatever, and he's like having to like, what does it all mean kind of talk, and it like happens once every like 4 years. Okay. It's like every time you like.
I'm sure a dude would never do this around me because there would be a totally different like social construct there, you know.
What do you mean if that was the
like, I highly doubt this male friend, for example, would come and have the same conversation, would feel comfortable enough to have that same sort of conversation with me as they would with you.
Well, yeah, okay. So, I mean, but forget about the particulars of that. Okay, I just mean that the depth, if that can be measured, the depth of the conversation, that's a rare thing. Whereas I think with women, there's far more just willingness to explore that and also having I don't know if you think more typically.
Yes, we do. All of us collectively. We're actually part of a large hive mind, and we're taking over.
Whoa!
Run!
Really? Where are you going?
I'm just turning on a light.
You were escaping.
Bye.
No. Whoa! There's a trap door. I didn't know that. Let yourself out.
Yeah. Lock the door. Throw the key back through the hole.
I don't know. Just like the conversation, there's more of an opportunity generally.
Yeah, well, we get to practice it more. We're promoted to practice more. Conflict resolution is a totally different game. Not game, but reality for when, and like the safety and trust aspect. So you're willing to go and talk about things, and the relatability aspect. I think there's a lot of like individual, like being an individual really weaved into being a man, which really must be exhausting, thinking you have to stand out there all by yourself, like suffering in the wind, like,
right.
You know, it's not that bad, it's worse for others. It's like, yeah, okay.
Right.
You know, if it sucks, that's okay that it sucks. And, you know, first step is admitting that to yourself. And if you want to really be a big man, you should probably do that.
Right. You should probably, like, admit to yourself. Like...
Yeah, just, like, admit to yourself that you probably... If you, like a little PSA to hetero dudes dating women. There's probably a lot more work and things you could ask and say and heavy lifting you could do on the everyday within your conversations that you don't even realize your partner is doing for you. And, like, there's a lot of things that even if your partner hasn't brought up, maybe you should be asking them those questions, like... Hey, how does it feel when we're at the coffee shop and the barista looks at me to pay? Like, because I have a dick and you don't, you know? Okay. Like, Mark and I will talk about that sometimes. Like, we'll go out for dinner and they'll always hand him the check and I'm paying. And it's like, you know, at first I would get all harumphed and pissed. And then eventually he took the time to actually, like, ask me about how it felt, you know? Like, so just, because then that gives you the opportunity to practice this type of more complex or deeper conversation kind of at your speed at topics that maybe you feel like you have a handle on. Because a lot of answers I get from my hetero male friends when I ask them deeper questions is I don't know, and that's a totally okay answer, because I truly believe you don't know, versus getting angry. A lot of people get angry when other people say, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's like avoiding the answering the question or whatever. So if you are in these like more heteronormative relationships with women, or if you're just anyone, just ask how like an affecting situation or something you may not understand is affecting them, because it'll give you a good opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, that's true. It's quite a bit talking about feelings is
my favorite thing to do.
Well, it's difficult because it's so
subjective.
It's subjective and it's formless.
Yep. It is.
It's kind of a dreaded part.
But can't you feel the little crystals?
The emotion crystals?
Little, forming emotion crystals that, help me better explain me to you, and then we can understand each other better?
Yeah, but it's put that in a transcript and read it and make sense of that if it wasn't a person-to-person exchange.
Yeah, but there's lots of stuff we can't see that's real.
Like ghosts?
Yes, like ghosts. And air.
And air. It's there.
And, gas.
That's true.
It's got real deep.
But I don't know if that's fake deep. That's a thing too.
Yeah,
fake deep.
Fake deep.
No, I don't know. I guess I'm speaking as someone who's been in feelings conversations with women before who clearly know what they're talking about, and I have no fucking idea. But it's just so I love the formless world of the beyond the explainable. I'm a fucking artist, okay?
Of course you are.
So these things, whether I can explain it or not, are very. I am very interested in.
I find analogies really help in explaining your emotions to people.
So if you were it feels like hot coals or something, it's okay, I know what that feels like.
Or even if you've experienced a situation together. So let's say I dropped the dumbbell on the floor and I freak out on you, okay? And then a couple of weeks later, I ask you to bring, we're having dinner or something, I ask you to bring something, and you don't bring it. So let's say it's avocados, okay?
Okay.
So let's call it the dumbbell situation and the avocado situation. I get mad at you for both, right?
So wait, what is the dropping the dumbbell thing? You're
I turned around, I don't know, I just happened to drop the dumbbell, and I get really mad at you, and you're like, what the fuck, why are you getting mad at me?
Okay, yeah,
and you don't really understand,
no
and I'm trying to explain to you. So in terms of taking analogies to explain these things. So let's say this situation when I dropped the dumbbell, the reason I was actually angry was because I was embarrassed, right?
Okay.
And the reason I got angry at you about the avocados was because you let me down.
Yeah, well, that one I understand.
So in the future, let's say something happens and I get really upset and you're kind of confused on what's going on, right? Because it's sometimes hard to communicate our emotions. And I go, this is a dumbbell situation, and then how I'm feeling, right. and that dialogue can begin, right? Where I can start to explain to you, oh, well, maybe, as a kid, I used to really, a parent or a loved one used to really pick on me for perfection. So when I embarrassed myself in front of my friend, I felt, like I was being judged and therefore unlovable, blah, blah, blah. You go down the list of reasons why you're reacting or why you're having an emotion. Because all emotions are triggered by something. Happiness, sadness, frustration, mediocrity, complacency, whatever. Pick something, right? Mm-hmm. So analogies help you relate to others. And that could be a good first step for some people in terms of explaining their emotions. If they don't have the deep connective language to go for you to understand, or for you to be able to see through the facade of the anger and understand what I'm feeling, right? Because the anger can look the same, but it's coming from all these different places. Mm-hmm. So it's a good, and for you, it's coming from different places too. So it's good if you can identify why you felt a certain way and then help your friends or family or loved ones by explaining these analogies to them. You'll feel so much more seen. You'll be able to talk about your feelings better, and it can be that intro into having more in-depth conversations because people can understand the differences in the complexities of your feelings because you aren't just basic 6 emotions, right?
Right. Well, I understand that in the theory.
In the crystals.
Well, no, I understand in the theory. I don't understand it in the actual crystals. That dumbbell one, that was legit. It was you were talking to a deaf person right there. It was I heard it, but I didn't understand. I was and?
Yeah.
And then you're not only was I mad.
Yeah.
For some fucking reason.
Well, because I dropped the dumbbell.
Because you dropped the fucking, the floor can take it.
Well.
But then additionally, not only were you're mad, but you're mad at yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me was I don't even know how you came up with that concept, right? But you felt it, and then you can explain it. I get that, and I find that's helpful in the same way that I find it fascinating that in different languages, different words that have no equivalent in other languages. And that's when I'm reminded that a word is... Oh, wait, no, I don't want to start talking like that. A word is, but... No.
Emotions? You want to talk about emotions?
Well, we already are.
Feelings.
We're talking about talking about emotions.
We've talked about some emotions today, too.
Yeah.
Isn't that like why you make music? That's why I make music. That's like why I like any of the music that I like is all emotional based.
Yeah, I think it would have to be. I don't think I made it like a mission statement, but I suppose that would have to be it.
Yeah, so I feel like musicians are like if they're not well practiced in talking about their emotions in a sharing setting, they are well practiced in at least expelling the emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to go totally off topic with that.
No. Yeah, you're talking about music? What the fuck you doing?
Well, I was trying to relate it back to you in the sense of like saying you have maybe more experience than you think you do doing more in-depth work. You just haven't done it with communicating it directly to maybe a one-on-one other. Yep. But you do have a base. I think this is a big sticking point with me sometimes with my male friends who are musicians when they don't get it and I get frustrated with them. Is that I'm like, I know you have the practice for this because you literally are part of an art that is almost fully emotion-based.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you just have to, like I said, give yourself some analogies so that you can better explain it. Instead of taking it
into, like, the what is it called? Completely taken out of the normal everyday context of the stage, the playing these tunes, that stuff, mm-hmm. and then putting it back into the actual real world, quote unquote, of personal relationship. That's so you can do it in a song, you can figure out how to do it in terms of relationship as well.
Yeah, that might be a little bit too black and white and a little too literal for some people. I'm not saying it can work for everybody, but I think a lot of people don't look at the work that they do in their art as real work, like as something that makes you a seasoned and practiced veteran at whatever it is that you choose to do for a certain a length of time. Mm-hmm. You get your tenure in touring or whatever, right? Like you've just spent 10 years making music, touring, writing, being emotional, dealing with others, like mm-hmm. you have the base.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I think depth of conversation. I would say maybe at the risk of trying to compartmentalize things, I suppose it's more along the philosophical lines as opposed to the emotional side of things. As far as my words describing actual experience as opposed to material that doesn't fucking matter. Mm-hmm. That's an area I do suppose I'm probably not as experienced at as I think on average the average male I'm on par with, but I don't know, women who use words such as emotional work, which is kind of a bit foreign to me.
Well, Kat and I get together once a week and we practice together. You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. we strengthen our friendships and we put in that emotional work. She lifts and I lift, and she lifts and mm-hmm. I lift, and we unsort out what's happened to each other over the week, over the months, some sort of feeling that we've had or some sort of regret that we've got, and we practice it once a week. Like, it's tough. It's tough to make an hour or have a night where we get to have a sleepover and a hang, but it's invaluable.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah, these are things with my own existence that may be out of whack, and that may explain some,
Yeah.
Again, I also sort of think that that I could kind of be when you keep telling yourself something, you make it true.
Yeah, of course.
I mean? So in my head,
I'm going to play a show I've never played in a band before. I'm going to play a show I've never played in a band before.
Right.
And you make it happen.
I've decided that my burnout started last Friday.
Okay.
You got to put a date on it. Fucking, I don't know why, but it's just a story.
Yep.
It's a story I'm telling myself. And every time you say it, yeah, you make it more true, but it's not actually any more true than I decide to make it for myself.
Well, you obviously need to make it true for yourself or you wouldn't be doing it.
I guess so. Yeah. I think it's like being, among other things, it's just like being comfortable with
trusting your own thoughts, minds, and feelings.
Yeah, my own minds.
Your own minds.
Well, just being okay with, like,
I bet you don't relax well.
No. No, I wouldn't.
Because you probably don't feel like there's a deserving aspect to it.
No. Which is, you know, like, kind of occasionally feeling like envy for the 9 to 5 set because the goal is understood. However, I do think that is just an illusion you place before yourself, and if you ever
grass is always greener.
Yeah, I think that's like a degree of dissatisfaction is gonna creep in no matter what. I
think it's a good motivator.
What dissatisfaction?
Fuck yeah.
Well, I think that even if you got your dream job,
Mm-hmm. Well, I have my dream job, and I still don't think it's enough.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I think that you will manage to find something that's out of place no matter what you ended up with. So therefore, that indicates an internal, I don't want to say problem, because that makes it sound like it's...
Jim Carrey put it really well. He was talking about doing nothing, because he's decided he's going to do nothing. And he's leaned into the doing nothing, because that's really what he wants to do, is nothing. And I can 150% relate to that.
Right.
So when you look at it that way, pretty much everything I feel like on my conscious level is some sort of act that I'm putting on because I am socialized into this belief that I have to just do. And until I start challenging that and accepting that I also quite enjoy doing nothing, I probably won't really be feeling fulfilled.
Right.
And as I move into school, obviously with 2 bands, full-time work, a dog, a partner, best friends, like a bike gang, like it's going to be a bit of a shit balance for me. But I think on the other side, what it will teach me is the acceptance of this nothingness.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because, like, other than the primal shit, what are we, like, everything else is taught and mimicked. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's the true you, man?
Yeah, well...
420, man.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's very... So I should put this out. Shit, I should have live streamed this. It would be like... Everyone would be all stoned. Be like, damn, I was just going to ask that question. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some people, I think lately, because of some things I've listened to and in a book I've read, it's... there's this kind of idea of biological determinism relating to, you know, just everything's evolution based. So nothing we're doing is... I think currently the image in my head is just like, you know, we kind of stick ourselves in suits and like go and buy shawarma instead of Chinese tonight and so on and so forth.
Well, we think those are our choices. Those are the choices that we get.
Yeah, but we're like wandering around because we've already kind of got all of the survival aspects covered. You know, maybe you know, and the big thing being like more offspring, if that's what you feel like a lot of people, you know, it's like can have kids and shit, and you can, like, you know.
What are you getting at?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. Now I'm doubting myself, and I don't know.
Is this construct? Is it not construct?
It's I'm not gonna let go. I'm gonna fucking remember what I was trying to say. The evolutionary point of view. Just looking for that word. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of it's like a bunch of lost people, like, who are like looking for like things that are not what we're even put on the planet to do. All we're really put on the planet to do is kind of like make more of us.
Yeah, eat shit, breed, repeat. Yeah,
and that's pretty much it. So everything else we can add, but the whole idea of like a sense of purpose and stuff, it has relative meaning, but not absolute meaning. It has relative meaning because there's lots of other people who believe in this idea.
That's literally what I'm going to school for.
Is what?
It's like figuring out like where these urges and purposes come from, right? Like, this shit is obviously universal enough that while it may be outside of our primal instincts, it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily like a studyable science. You know what I mean? Like, it's based on our physiology. Like, we react, interact, and, you know, do everything that we do based on inside us, like what drives us internally, right?
Yeah.
It's like a pretty, it's
and I think it can be
cool to learn about.
Pulled all the way, depending on where your viewpoint is. It can be pulled all the way to, into everything being an amino acid or a
totally. If you want to, I think that's a really negative way to look at it. And I think it's a very literal and factual way, and a nice way to try to like organize everything for yourself so it's not so intimidating and scary. But I don't think that's like realistic. I think it's like a very negative way. I think the best way for everything is moderation, pretty much.
Right. The old adage.
It's okay if you get angry. That's normal. It's okay if you get fucking suicidal. That's normal. It's okay if you have like weird fantasies that you shouldn't have. That's normal. Like, what you do and how you act is obviously on you and controlled by society, what is and what isn't legal. But I don't know. We're all, you know, a lot more complicated than we think, and we're also a lot more like simple than we think. Like, we're all pretty fucking similar. Like, no one's really that special. It's just your lived experience and like the way that you record your mixtape, essentially your personal life mixtape, is just different, right? Like, yours might want to be lo-fi, mine wants to be super clean. Like, that stuff's all up to you. Those are your choices, right?
That's one of the coolest when you really appreciate music for what it is. I think that's one of the coolest things when you realize like it's like there's a fucking rainbow. There's so many tiny little, even the poser biter people who just rip off other people. They can't sound exactly the same.
Yeah, everything's individual.
Yeah, and it seems and that those are my favorite moments with things like that.
Yeah,
like the idea of the spectrum of different voices. Not, I was about to say the individual, but I think you're right. You didn't say this, but that word is a bit poisoned and a bit poisonous.
Yeah. Because we're not, and then you can go back to like talking about our base needs. Like, we're pack animals.
Yeah.
Like, we're naturally pack animals. Some more central to the pack, like an introvert or an extrovert, excuse me, and some more peripheral within the pack. Those are the introverts, and that's okay. Like, you need everybody to be in the pack, excuse me, not to put a T on the end of something that doesn't have a T. But if you want to be the individual, you're not going to survive. You need others, like, even if you are the truly most introverted, in order to express and in order to, like, not be isolated. That's why, like, anyways, now we're going to go into a whole other topic. That's why isolation, prison, residential schools, all those things are so toxic, and they're not rehabilitative at all, right? It's because we're not meant to be in it, to be pushing towards an individualistic society. Like, the individual can come up with with amazing ideas. They could cure cancer. They can look at things in new ways, but they actually can't probably get any of that done without others. Mm-hmm. Like, being a true individual and like a martyr is pointless. You're making it harder for yourself in every way. For what? So that you can say that you don't rely on anyone? Like, what? Why?
Yeah. Well,
I understand why people do it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, look at maybe how, interacting and practicing with others would make you feel maybe a little more developed in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that, all that stuff that you're...
Because, like, not to call you out, but you're a bit of a lone wolf.
Yeah. That's you've pointed out something that I've probably thought about myself. So
cool.
That's a good one. Check off the list. I like dropping in when I feel like it and leaving when I feel like it.
Yeah, but does it sometimes, and again, not to get too personal, but doesn't that sometimes leave you at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of, like you said, like having something to bounce off of? Like, do you miss it? Like, do you miss people when you isolate that much?
I don't know. I think, how do I put this? Because
introverts, tell me your secrets.
Well, I mean, it certainly plays within being an introverted person. What I'm describing of having a car is fucking wicked, and the fact that I don't drink too much, so I can drive most of the time. It's sick because I can show up for like 2 hours to something, and then leave, it's I suppose it's one thing that's maybe a good aspect of it of when you're spending a lot of time by yourself is that you don't have like I remember I had a friend who said that they had to listen to talk radio in the car because they couldn't just like not listen to anything.
Yeah, be by themselves.
Because it's like, you flip off that radio.
But you didn't answer
like,
if you.
Damn!
I know,
what?
but you didn't answer if you miss people.
No, I'm circumlocutously figuring out how to explain it.
Okay.
Because it related to shit today. Like I was practicing some shit for a couple hours, and I was like, let's keep going. But I was like, there's that old faithful part of me that's like, man, there isn't that much left right now. You're kind of just beating a dead horse if you try to keep going past this couple hour mark. It's like, oh fuck, well, what now?
Oh no, you have to socialize.
No, well, I was looking forward to this. I look at it as like, trying to have a few like social things a week is a good thing for me. I feel it well in the long run.
I guess I've always just wanted to kind of understand why you would choose to be without people versus with people.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a choice.
It's not a choice?
No.
I asked this question not in a facetious or accusatory way.
Right.
I literally don't know because I'm somebody who wants to be, so I have 2 pets. I'm like,
Right.
I like to be around living things.
Okay, well, I mean, the most obvious answer is I don't know. It's just how I've always done things. But if we delve deeper into that,
See, I'll learn about this at school. I'll learn about the different types of people. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no,
you'll finally make sense, Mike Simpson. Well,
No, I'm an enigma. That's another important thing. I want you to...
veiled in secrecy.
You know what I mean? Like, you've always thought that about me.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
That Mike Simpson. What's his last name?
Locked. Yeah. That's not, is that his middle name or his last name? We don't know.
Yeah, or does he just like The Simpsons? Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be great? See, I've got there's a lot of parts to me.
Fucking layers, man. Like
layers.
An onion.
So the simple answer is it's just kind of how I've always done things. Looking at it as a comparative thing, between could I just stay in tonight or could I go to this thing? And I have different grades for priority. Friends' birthdays, kind of like, well, you gotta go to that. I mean, you want to go to that, but like, you gotta go to that. Or like party invite from, acquaintance, sure. Anything that's kind of like a personal, like someone who you know. And then other things like shows. If I feel up to it, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go for a while. If there's nothing that kind of reaches up to that level of priority, then...
See, I'm talking more like your one-on-one, like, friend time. Like, I will, like, triple up on, like, I'll hang out with Kat, and I'll be like, who should we hang out? We should hang out with Miranda. And I'm like, fuck, who else I need to get in that I haven't had a good chat with Rachel. And I'll do, like, I'll do a small little, like...
Okay.
So I can see all my friends because there's just not enough fucking days in the week, and I want these close fucking awesome bonds with them, and I want to know how they are, and I want them to trust me, and I want them to see the work I'm putting into our friendship, and it matters to me, and all this stuff, because then they'll give back to me in the same way, and then I feel really fulfilled. Like, then I can feel I've had enough practice of talking out all of these things I've been thinking about over and over and over again, and, you know, and that's the point of not the point, but it's like a benefit of the friendship, right?
I think that's definitely something I should consider for my own.
No, if you don't do it naturally, this is what I'm saying. I think this is the difference.
I don't know necessarily. I think as you say, moderation is key.
Yeah.
I do think that sounds healthy. I think, to put it back in the gender thing, I think it's not a male practice to do something like, hey, let's get together and talk about things that affected us.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm...
But that's never the guys, right? It's like, hey, me and Kat are like listening to records. Miranda, you want to come over? Miranda comes over. And then the conversation happens.
Right.
So, like, tomorrow night, I'm so excited. I'm getting to hang out with Ashley and Nicole, Brad's partner, and Ashley, who works at Pie Clubs. They just like added me and Miranda to this sweet Ladies of Metal group, and I added Kat, and the five of us are gonna go, like, everyone's bringing a record tomorrow. We're gonna like smoke weed, eat pizza, and like listen to records. I'm so fucking excited, but I know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be this amazing like new friendship kindling moment where I'm going to learn all this cool new stuff about Nicole and about Ashley and about Miranda. I mean, I know a lot of stuff about Kat, so, you know, it's just like, I just like doing everything with her, so I'm always like, bring Kat, like, everything's better with Kat. I also feel like people like her more than they like me. I said this to her recently, and she was like, okay, and I was like, I put you out in the front, and you attract, and then I get to be like, hey, see how cool she is? She likes me, so you'll probably like me too.
I am the surprise!
Yeah. Now that you're friends with Kat, you get to be friends with me too.
The plan has worked.
Yeah, and she was like, that's not how that is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the most classic friend heart-to-heart things, don't you? It's kind of like, I'm worried about this, and your friend's like, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
You're right.
Echo chamber,
conversation
perfect.
over.
Yeah.
But it's usually true. Come on, like,
it's true.
You know, it's not like, it's like, should I pay my rent? Like, yes, you should fucking pay your rent. There'll be repercussions. But if it's like, you know, like I don't know if like Derek pays attention to me the way that, you know, whatever, some shit like that. Yeah. It's like, I think you're thinking about this too much. And as having the detachment of not being you're not the same fucking person as the other person, you can easily provide that role. That's to say, like, you can slow down. It's cool.
Yeah, Kat had to do that when I first got my crush on Mark. She was like, you need to chill that role. And I was like, what do you think? Do you think he likes me? Oh my god. She was like, chill out. She's like, I don't even think he cares. So you need to like take a breath. And I was like, he looked at me. She's like, you are projecting all over this poor dude.
You guys like lying on your bed with like pink bed sheets and like looking at Tiger Beat.
Looking at Tiger Beat that happens to have Mark in it.
And you're like, you know, or you're like talking on your like cordless phone.
To
your friend. You're like,
does Jason like me? But it's good. It's good to have that feedback, and I guess I need more of it. So I engage in that, and I have a wide. I think another reason I like having so many friends is a good wide cross section of people who will be honest with you. Mm-hmm. You know, like Kat really loves me, so she might not tell me if like my feet stink or if my like attitude around stinky feet is like kind of footist or whatever, you know, like she's not going to call me on my shit about feet. But maybe Miranda, who's like a newer bud, who's like pretty big on foot stink and like really thinks it's important, will call me on being like anti-foot stink, you know. Okay. So you figure, between having a broader range allows you to have more insight. Yeah, newer to older friends. Like when I was trying to get, I had to have 2 letters of reco for school about my character. And so I had my brother write one because I love my bro and he's the fucking coolest person on the history of the world ever and the Earth's existence on all the atmospheres and every planet. My brother is the coolest. And then I asked Kat because obviously she's the next person. And then I asked Vanessa from La Luna, now Digest.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And she and I have been like buds now for maybe like a year and a half, a little longer. But we're getting close. Like, she's fucking cool. And we're both like doing the thing where we slowly like reveal ourselves to each other, and we're like trusting each other. And like, anyways, I feel very lucky to have that friendship. And I asked her too. I didn't end up getting her to do it, but I felt it was like really important for this process to have, 3 stages of who you are, 3 people knowing you in different parts of your life, 3 people who offer you different feedback based on those relationships, in order to have a really good, broad look at my character, right? Like, Vanessa knows me in one way, Kat knows me in another way because of time and length, and my brother knows me obviously because, we came out of the same space, so.
Right.
But, yeah, I think, again, anyways, this all started with me trying to understand introverts, and I'm talking about my friendship dynamics, so.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a conversation Bogart. About me. Me.
Sucking up my energy, using it to talk about yourself.
Taking up your empathy.
Using up your energy. Yeah.
Smoke like more weed, man.
It's a metal song. It's like one of those thrash songs where like it's all fast, like one of the Slayer songs where it's all fast. Which one was that? And anyway, sorry, I can't remember the name.
That's okay. I'm glad you're not gonna. I was worried that you were gonna ask me lots of questions about albums and stuff, and as you know, I like a really weird, wide cross section of random shit, and so I was like, I'm not gonna know any of the things that Mike's gonna talk about. I bet you whatever cool interview you and Steve had, you guys probably talked about like cool music stuff, and I was like, fuck, I hope we talk about emotions and feelings because that's all I know, and here we are.
There you go. See. I mean, I've got a lot of layers to me, so, it's like,
that's
there's
fair.
A lot of things.
I know, I kind of caught the Crosley one, and you guys talked about, like, music and intention, like, a lot, and I was like...
Music and what?
Like, intention.
Oh, intention, okay.
I
don't even know if I'm going to go back and listen to it. I'm going to put it up. But anyway.
Just, like, reasons why you guys do stuff, or reasons why other people do stuff, or, like, the band etiquette stuff, and just, like... That stuff that gets talked about a lot on lots of music podcasts. But a lot of people know a lot more because they're, like, for example, the 2 guys I just mentioned are, like, seasoned, toured musicians, right? And I'm not that, so. Right.
Yeah, I think that's, if I was trying to approach doing this with any kind of
consistency
lens, yeah, well, I think they'll be released consistently.
Okay.
But, like, yeah, as far as... I don't know, like, what do we say, I don't know, at the beginning? Is it like a...
It absolves you of responsibility of having an opinion.
That's what it is.
Taking a stand. No problem.
You just have all the answers. Okay.
Well, because that's something that really bothers me, so when something really bothers me, I try to figure out what about it bothers me. And it's the lack of ownership. Therefore, you leave the ownership out on the table for someone else to take. So you can say something, and people do this too when they ask you to give your opinion first, and then they will adjust what they're going to say or how they're going to react based on your reaction, which is not you giving me truly what you think. And if it's not fully formed, sometimes that can be the case too. But a lot of people say, I don't know, because they're scared to put out, like...
Yes. That's
ownership for how they feel about something.
I definitely try, and I still do it all the time, but I do it less than I used to, is put out placeholders during the time that I'm speaking. Like, not saying anything right now. Like has probably been come out of my mouth like 3,000 times over the course of this conversation. Probably yours too.
Probably.
It's just so ingrained. But
I'm actually pretty good at it because my mom's a speech pathologist. So there's a lot of things that you just don't say and a lot of ways that you don't That's participate in speaking because it just makes you sound stupid, according to my mom. Stupid.
Yeah, I try not to do that because I don't know. I think it's weak. You don't really need to worry about the other person turning off because there's no sounds coming out of you.
I have a pretty big appreciation though for people who just kind of, even these things that we know are incredibly grating. For example, perhaps saying like the Valley Girl aspect of that association with the word, like, oh my god, like, so totally Tony, like, and then Andrew, and then we don't like to see ourselves in this, like, in this personality associated to this word. But for me, when I see people honestly living that, and that's how they speak, and that's just part of who they are, I don't look at them as uneducated or lacking in vocabulary. I look at it as a pretty good snapshot of whatever they're surrounded by.
Certainly. Well, that's
back to the lack of the individualist and trying to look at people more as community.
Okay, well, I was gonna say it's a bit more like just saying that, you know, certain things don't really matter.
That too, totally. See, I say totally a lot. I say awesome and totally and rad a lot. Rad. That's rad.
I never assimilated that one. I always felt like a sham saying rad. I felt like it didn't represent me.
I feel because I'm enough of a pothead, I can say rad.
Yeah, I'm not a pothead.
And I like to ride bikes and wear little hats with words on them.
Right, so maybe you felt a little bit more like this is an appropriate part of my lexicon.
Yeah, I can mimic this behavior to better help me assimilate within this group that I find acceptable.
Right.
Correct.
And you've been successful because they've kept you in their
Correct.
circle.
They've let me stay due to all the rads and awesomes and totallys.
You fulfill the expectations.
Correct. Yeah.
You don't appear a threat to them.
No.
So.
No.
Yeah, that's true. Well.
On that note.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna order some dinner.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's a good chat. It's the longest I've done yet.
Oh, jeez. I was like an hour max, and then we've been doing 2 hours.
Because I was like, oh shit, we're gonna have like 40 minutes. It's like not gonna be enough time to accomplish whatever it is we were trying to accomplish here.
Jimmy's chasing squirrels in his dreams.
Is that like dream barking?
Yeah.
So in like his dream, he's like,
he's so cute. Look at the bull terrier. And he dies, I'm gonna be so depressed.
Well,
anyways, on that
note. At least you can use the word die and his name at the same time.
Yeah, I've been prepping myself for this for a while.
Right. I think any pet owner really.
I think anybody should be prepped for loss and grief and all that shit that nobody likes to have to wade through. Oh, buddy. You get that squirrel. You attack that big black male dog that you want to have sex with. Yeah.
And that'll do it for this week. Barring any unforeseen difficulties, the next episode will be out July 23rd. This will also be the final episode, so please leave a comment, let me know what you think, and if you'd like to hear more in the future. And also subscribe. And thanks for listening.